Vítejte v Olomouci na 30. ročníku největší knihovnické konference, tedy konference Knihovny současnosti 2022. To, co všichni víte, ale já musím zmínit, je, že pořádající organizací je Sdružení knihoven České republiky, tedy sdružení, které sdružuje a podporuje knihovny, udává trendy v českém knihovnictví a usiluje o rozvoj knihoven jako demokratické a nepostradatelné součásti měst a obcí, jako podporu občanů a samospráv, jako místa vzdělávání, kultury a komunity. A nedílnou součástí je teď i to, že se stávají místem pro integraci cizinců, jsou místem pro sociální kontakt a knihovny tedy mají, a všichni věříme, že už mají, sociální a kulturní funkci ve všech městech, kde se nacházejí. Já tady dnes vítám známé tváře a to je pan doktor Tomáš Řehák, předseda Sdružení knihoven a ředitel Městské knihovny v Praze. Dobrý den. Ten je domácím, zároveň je zde pan doktor Kubíček z Moravské zemské knihovny v Brně a samozřejmě předseda nadace knihoven. Vítám tady pana ministra kultury, vzácnou návštěvu přijel mezi nás pan magistr Martin Baxa. Ten také přijal záštitu za touto konferencí. A stejně srdečně tady vítám pana inženýra Josefa Suchánka, hejtmana Olomouckého kraje. A za ty, kdo nás zde hostí a v jejíž prostorách se nacházíme, paní docentka Petra Šobáňová, proděkanka pro vnější vztahy a inovace. A velmi, velmi vzácnou návštěvou a speciálním hostem pro dnešní den je Barbara Lisson, prezidentka IFLI, prezidentka Mezinárodní federace knihovnických asociací a institucí. V podstatě prezidentka všech nás knihovníků. Vítejte. No a nebudeme prodlívat, já požádám pana předsedu Sdružení knihoven a ředitele Městské knihovny v Praze, pana doktora Tomáše Řeháka, o úvodní slovo.
Vážené dámy, vážení pánové, milí čestní hosté, milí partneři konference, milé kolegyně a milí kolegové. Mám tu čest přivítat vás už na 30. ročníku knihoven současnosti. A protože tu čest nemám poprvé, už jsem párkrát tuhle možnost měl, tak jsem vzpomínal, o čem jsem v těch zahajovacích projevech v těch minulých letech hovořil. Pamatuju si, že jsme mluvili o potřebě celoživotního vzdělávání. Pamatuji si, že jsme mluvili o dezinformacích a mediální gramotnosti jako způsobu, jak tomu čelit. Pamatuji si, že jsme mluvili o cílech udržitelného rozvoje, o klimatických hrozbách a o tom, jaká je naše role v těchto věcích. Pamatuji si samozřejmě, že jsme mluvili o covidu. A co znamená pro společnost a co znamená pro nás. Vždycky jsme si říkali, co s tím knihovny můžou udělat. Pro tu letošní konferenci jsem si mohl hodit kostkou a říct, že si spíš budu mluvit o válce, anebo spíš budu mluvit o energiích. Já nakonec budu mluvit o tom všem, o tom, o čem jsme mluvili v minulých letech a o těch aktuálních tématech, která vidíme dneska, která se zdají přehlušovat všechno ostatní, ale ono to tady všechno pořád je. Pořád je tady s námi covid, mimochodem letošní čísla jsou 3krát vyšší než loni touhle dobou. Pořád, ale už jsme si zvykli. Už tady sedíme bez roušek. Pořád je tady s náma klimatická změna? Už jsme si zvykli na tornáda? Dezinformace nacházejí nová a nová témata a my nějak nestíháme se s nimi vypořádávat. A svět je čím dál tím složitější a celoživotní učení je čím dál tím větší výzva. Tak co z toho? Co z toho jsou ta důležitá témata, o která se máme opřít? Je to strašně jednoduchý. Všechna. Tohle všechno je naše. Tohle všechno je důvod, proč jsme dneska tady. Smysl toho, proč jsme dneska tady, není v této místnosti, ale je tam venku. Smysl činnosti knihoven je to, co se děje kolem nich. Smyslem naší činnosti není katalogizovat knížky. Smyslem naší činnosti není půjčovat knížky. Smyslem naší činnosti je být pilířem demokratické, vzdělané a kulturní společnosti. Takhle to máme napsáno v koncepci rozvoje knihoven a o nic menšího nehrajem. Po mně tady bude hovořit ministr kultury, po mně bude hovořit hejtman jako představitel územní samosprávy, po mně bude hovořit proděkanka vysoké školy. Chcete-li kultura, demokracie, vzdělání. Ve skutečnosti každé z těch jmen, každé z těch pozic reprezentuje všechny tři ty pilíře, nejenom jeden z nich. Ale já je beru jako důkaz toho, že jsou tady, že ten svět kolem nás potřebuje a počítá s námi. Knihovny jsou důležité pro ten svět tam kolem nás. Takže to, o čem si tady 3 dny budeme povídat, je, jak to dělat dobře. Jak ta očekávání nesklamat, jak naopak udělat pro naši zemi co nejvíc. Ať se nám to daří. Děkuju.
A teď bych požádala pana ministra kultury, pana magistra Martina Baxu, o úvodní slovo.
Dobré odpoledne, dámy a pánové, pane řediteli, pane předsedo, pane hejtmane, paní docentko, kolegyně a kolegové. Pro mě je velikou radostí vás při této příležitosti oslovit. Dovolím si na počátku malé regionální odbočení. Chtěl bych pozdravit své kolegy z Plzně a z Plzeňského kraje. Ve svých samosprávných funkcích jsem byl vždycky velkým podporovatelem studijní a vědecké knihovny Plzeňského kraje i městské knihovny v Plzni, protože to jsou opravdu velmi významné instituce pro náš region a pro naše město velmi podstatné. Já jsem, dámy a pánové, během těch několika měsíců, co jsem ve funkci ministra kultury, zjistil, že naše ministerstvo nejenom formálně je zřizovatelem 2 klíčových institucí, ale že tyto instituce opravdu hrají naprosto zásadní roli v našem oboru, jak Národní knihovna v Praze, tak Moravská zemská knihovna v Brně. Já jsem hrdý na to, že takové instituce máme. Stejně bych ale rád zmínil i naši možná nejmenší, ale pro handicapované naše spoluobčany klíčovou instituci knihovnu pro nevidomé, Eduarda Macana, kde jsme nedávno uvedli do funkci novou paní ředitelku. Prostě stát se ke knihovnictví hrdě hlásí a považuji to za naprosto zásadní roli. Myslím, že v roce 1919, kdy byl přijat ten slavný knihovnický zákon a kdy unikátně v Evropě začala vznikat mimořádně hustá síť knihoven, ani netušili, jak zásadní roli tehdy přiřknul stát právě knihovnám a knihovníkům. Ta doba se samozřejmě zásadně změnila od půjčování knih. Dnes očekáváme od knihoven mnohé další role, ale současně si nejen jako ministr kultury, ale i zástupce kdysi samospráv kladu otázku, zda ti zřizovatelé to vědí a zda ti zřizovatelé všech těch obecních, zejména těch obecních knihoven, jsou si vědomi té zásadní proměny, ke které v současné době v knihovnictví a u knihoven dochází. Věřím tomu, že ano a že někde to postupuje pomaleji a někde určitě rychle. Já jsem také původní profesí učitel a byť jsem přesvědčen o tom, že po roce 1989 se české školství zásadně změnilo k lepšímu, tak si stejně tak musíme říci, že stále více a více přibývá dětí, které nečtou, některé nechtějí, některé k tomu nejsou vedeny a některé prostě nemohou, protože žijí ve společnosti a v prostředí, které k tomu příliš inspirativní není. A proto velmi vítám to, že jedním z témat letošního 30. setkání je vlastně inkluzivní role knihoven, tak, aby knihovny podporovaly a byly přístupné pro ty děti, které do nich chodí a pro ty čtenáře, které do nich chodí zcela přirozeně, ale také pro ty, kteří k tomu potřebují najít cestu. Minulý týden jsem absolvoval velmi zajímavou debatu s Asociací malých nakladatelů a knihovníků, kde se hovořilo také o roli školních knihoven, které, pane řediteli, nevím, zda tady jsou zastoupeny, ale každopádně hrají v tom systému také velkou roli a měly by hrát, tak aby knihovny byly stále více a více otevřené. Jsme si vědomi toho, že české knihovny potřebují finanční prostředky nejenom na svůj provoz a rozšiřování fondů, ale také na investice. Chystáme nyní na ministerstvu v rámci Národního plánu obnovy výzvu pro menší kulturní a kreativní centra v menších sídlech. Nejsou to tady ta velká centra, která už v tuto chvíli probíhají v té výzvě, ale ta menší, jejíž primární zaměření já právě vidím v oblasti knihovnictví a tak, jak se prostě mění kulturní vnímání v našem světě, tak jsem přesvědčen o tom, že zejména menší knihovny mají stále důležitější a důležitější roli v komunitní sféře, v životě těch jednotlivých sídel. Konec konců, dámy a pánové, já sám jsem se stal vášnivým čtenářem, protože jsem chodil do maličké knihovny v městské části, kde jsem bydlel v Plzni v Radobičicích, kde byla knihovna otevřena každé úterý od 17 do 19 hodin. A když jsem byl dítě, tak jsem se těšil na každé to úterý, kdy jsem v těch 17 hodin zaklepal na ty dveře a tam byla ta paní knihovnice už pokročilejšího věku, ale vykonávající svou práci s velkou oddaností a tam jsem četl všechny ty Verneovky a knížky z Albatrosu a potom ty další a další. Prostě tak i takovou roli knihovny hrají. Moc děkuji za všechno, co děláte. Díky panu řediteli Řehákovi, panu doktoru Richterovi, ředitelům našich příspěvkových organizací se snažím být s knihovnickým prostředím v kontaktu, získávat nové informace a navzdory tomu, co se v současné době děje, knihovny neopomíjet. A chtěl bych vám ještě poděkovat za jednu věc, za to, jakým způsobem se knihovnické prostředí zapojilo do té náhlé pomoci našim přátelům z Ukrajiny, protože všechny ty rodiny a děti, které k nám přišly, prostě potřebovaly nějakou pomoc a podporu. Já vím, že knihovny v tom byly velmi agilní. Tak vám přeju úspěšnou třídenní konferenci, hodně úspěchů, směřujte prostřednictvím těch lidí, o kterých jsem hovořil, i na nás kritické názory, podněty a tak dále. O to jsme tady, abychom vám mohli pomáhat. Díky.
A nyní bych ráda požádala pana inženýra Josefa Suchánka za Olomoucký kraj, pana hejtmana, zdali by nám něco uvítacího neřekl.
Děkuji. Dobré odpoledne, dámy a pánové, pane předsedo, pane ministře, paní proděkanko, pane řediteli. Já poděkuji za pozvání, jsem rád, že jsem tady mohl mezi vás na chvíli přivítat a strávit tady s vámi nějakou část dnešní konference. Tady na začátku paní kolegyně říkala, že je někdo domácí, tak já bych chtěl s hrdostí prohlásit, že já jsem také domácí. A to hned z několika důvodů. Já už jsem tady 22 let obyvatelem, občanem města Olomouce. 2 roky jsem v pozici hejtmana Olomouckého kraje a předtím jsem 5 let byl zaměstnancem Univerzity Palackého v Olomouci a s touto konferencí jsem tradičně měl společné to, že jsem pomáhal zabezpečovat ubytovací a stravovací služby pro vás.
Děkujeme.
V rámci svého působení na univerzitě jsem znal univerzitní knihovnu samozřejmě, protože to byla a je nádherná instituce. V rámci svého působení na kraji mám ambici se seznamovat s vědeckou knihovnou v Olomouci, krajskou knihovnou. Jsem zvědav, jestli zvládnu svou ambici poznat 7 pověřených regionálních knihoven zde v Olomouckém kraji a zcela jistě nemám žádnou ambici poznat všech 479 místních knihoven, které se v Olomouckém kraji nacházejí a jejich zřizovatelem jsou města a obce. A proto také jsem rád, že jsem mohl zavítat mezi vás, kteří reprezentují daleko větší počet knihoven všech, v celé naší republice a pomoci vás trošičku nasát a načichnout atmosféru všech těchto knihoven. Já vám za to děkuji, přeji vám hezky strávenou konferenci, krásný pobyt v úžasném krajském městě Olomouci a zároveň v Olomouckém kraji. Děkuji.
Děkuji domácímu panu hejtmanovi, panu Josefu Suchánkovi a my všichni slibujeme, že jakmile budeme mít nějakou volnou chvilku v konferenci, navštívíme nějakou památku v Olomouci. A závěrem bych... Dobře. Muzeum umění Olomouc doporučuje pan ministr. A na závěr poprosím paní docentku Petru Šobáňovou, proděkanku pro vnější vztahy a inovace.
Vážené dámy, vážení pánové, vzácní hosté. Jak už zaznělo, já tady zastupuji instituci, na jejíž půdě nyní se nacházíte. Jsem tady v zastoupení pana děkana, docenta Vojtěcha Regece a také jeho jménem, ale jménem nás všech na Pedagogické fakultě vás opravdu srdečně vítám. Je to pro nás ohromná čest vás tu mít a myslím si, že sem patříte. Jak už zaznělo, instituce, jako jsou vysoké školy anebo vůbec různé součásti školství, jsou přirozenými partnery s knihovnami, ale také s dalšími paměťovými institucemi. Takže jste tady doma. Pro nás je velkou ctí, že se konference, která slaví dokonce 30. výročí, koná právě u nás. Když jsem přemýšlela nad tím, že je to neuvěřitelné číslo, 30. konference, za tu dobu se jistě změnilo mnohé, to hlavní poslání knihoven stále zůstává, ale zároveň máte před sebou nepochybně mnoho výzev, stejně jako my učitelé. Jak vlastně fungovat v situaci, kdy už zdaleka ne všechny knihy jsou papírové, jak fungovat v situaci, jak už i zaznělo, kdy nejmladší generace si hledá cestu jiným způsobem k informacím, než jenom četbou. A já vám přeji, aby se vám dařilo hledat to svoje nové místo na slunci a abyste stále uchovávali ten hlavní smysl, a to je šíření vzdělanosti. A zároveň, protože jsem tady zástupkyně učitelské obce, nebo pedagogické obce, můžeme říct, tak dovolte, abych vyslovila ještě jedno takové přání. My se snažíme budoucí učitele vychovávat k tomu, aby věděli, že vědění a vůbec kultura je ukrytá nejenom ve školní třídě nebo v učebnicích, ale že ji právě mohou hledat i v tom bohatství kulturního dědictví, které schraňují jak knihovny, tak také další paměťové instituce, jako jsou muzea, galerie a další, živá kultura samozřejmě. A já si přeji v závěru, aby se podařilo tady toto propojení velmi plodné a přirozené přenést i na další roviny. Probíhají revize rámcových vzdělávacích programů, proměňuje se školství na mnoho dalších let dopředu. Já si přeji, abychom se učili navzájem spolupracovat, a aby to se promítlo i do té nejvyšší úrovně. A na úplný závěr přeji vašemu jednání hodně úspěchů a přeji také každé knihovně, aby nacházela podporu nejenom morální, ale také finanční, protože to, co děláte, je nesmírně důležité. Děkuji vám a vítejte.
Děkuji za všechny uvítací řeči. A teď je třeba přistoupit k ocenění. K ocenění vás, knihovníků, kteří jste buď významně přispěli k rozvoji českého knihovnictví, a nebo jste mu zasvětili celý svůj život. A v tom případě by vás čekala cena za celoživotní práci. Já poprosím Veroniku. Tak, ta první nominace poběží jenom jednou, tak teď jsme si to vyzkoušeli, ty další 3 už půjdou bez problému. Jak vidíte, tak ceny, Tobolkovy ceny předává nadace knihoven, to je to logo, které vidíte teď, proto jsme ho zastavili, a samozřejmě Sdružení knihoven České republiky. Tím prvním nominovaným je člověk, který je klíčovou osobností provozu a vývoje jednoho z nejdůležitějších centrálních nástrojů českého knihovnictví, portálu knihovny.cz. V průběhu několika mála let se mu podařilo ve spolupráci se svými kolegy a spolupracovníky stabilizovat jeho provoz a současně soustavnou propagační prací jej zavádět do praxe uživatelů knihoven. Význam tohoto centrálního nástroje, který je cílen právě pro uživatele, se plně ukázal v době pandemických uzavírek. Soustředěná a profesionální práce celého týmu umožnila vytvořit webové nástroje, které umožnily zajištění selektivního ve smyslu sbírkotvorného přístupu k fondům českých knihoven a prezentaci knihovní činnosti i v době nejtvrdších lockdownů. Příkladem jsou stále fungující online knihovny.cz, které čeká migrace do centrálního nástroje knihoven.cz, což svědčí o jejich úspěšnosti, a v poslední době pak rychlá reakce na podporu válečných uprchlíků, vytvoření portálu ukrajinaknihovny.cz, na němž spolupracuje nejenom velká skupina profesionálních knihovníků, ale také pedagogů a dalších dobrovolníků i z řad ukrajinských migrantů. I tento nástroj ukázal, jak rychle a cíleně a jak profesionálně jsou knihovníci připraveni reagovat v krizových situacích a stal se díky tomu jedinečným příkladem právě pro toto. Bez fungujícího týmu knihoven.cz, bez entuziasmu a profesionální zodpovědnosti by to bylo o mnoho obtížnější. Koncepční uvažování, které se nespokojuje s aktualitou, ukazuje koncepce knihoven.cz, kterou nominovaný se svým týmem předložil knihovnické veřejnosti k diskuzi v roce 2022 a která střízlivě, ale sebevědomě propojuje další rozvoj centrálního nástroje českého knihovnictví. A je to pan magistr Martin Krčál, Moravská zemská knihovna. Poprosím ho, aby přišel sem k nám, a poprosím i vás o předání a požádám i Barbaru Listen, zdali by mohla přijít mezi nás. Požádám pana ministra, aby předal Tobolkovu plaketu panu Martinu Krčálovi. Teď má pan Krčál příležitost říci nám u pultíku pár slov.
Hezký den, je to trošku hodně. Já bych vlastně na tomto místě chtěl poděkovat všem z vás, kteří portál podporujete, protože myslím si, že to není cena jenom pro mě, ale vlastně pro všechny, kteří nám nějakým způsobem pomáhají. Asi teď nebudu vyzdvihovat jednotlivé lidi, určitě je to můj tým, který mi velmi pomáhá, určitě jsou to kolegové z Moravské zemské knihovny, ale i z dalších knihoven. Vidím tady spoustu tváří, kteří přispěli třeba portálu Ukrajiny a dalších úspěšných projektů. ale jedné osobě bych možná poděkoval trochu víc, protože ta mě na portál vlastně přivedla. Před 4 minuty na oslavě mých 40. narozenin říkala, že by asi bylo dobré, kdybych se portálu ujal a že by si mě tam dovedla představit a já jsem o tom pak začal trošku uvažovat a vlastně portál mi začal dávat smysl a vlastně Iva Zadažová, to je tou osobou a to je vlastně v podstatě na portálu mou pravou rukou a školí a vy se s ní běžně potkáváte. Možná by tady měla stát místo mě, protože ona je tou tváří trošku knihoven a myslím si, že hodně pomáhá, aby knihovny.cz byly vidět a hlavně, aby něco dělali, protože přijde mi, že ten portál má velký potenciál a věřím, že zítra na přednášce vám dokážu, jak ho můžete využívat i vy ve svých knihovnách a jak ho můžete dostat ke svým uživatelům. Děkuji moc.
I my děkujeme a zároveň jménem všech, když se teď podíváte do auditoria, tak jménem všech nás bych vám chtěla popřát vše nejlepší k dnešním narozeninám. A dalším nominovaným nebo nominovanou je to člověk, jehož profesionální činnost se dlouhodobě zaměřuje na 2 klíčové oblasti českého knihovnictví. Na rozvoj regionálních funkcí knihoven a na celoživotní vzdělávání knihovníků. V obou oblastech je, a řeknu to, její práce vnímána jako mimořádně podstatná nejenom pro jejich běžnou praxi, ale především pro jejich systémové a dlouhodobé ukotvení. V oblasti regionálních funkcí je ona zmiňovaná nejenom motorem příkladné metodické práce, autorkou či spoluautorkou řady metodických pokynů, ale především člověkem, který dělá svoji práci srdcem a i za hranice běžné pracovní činnosti. Výsledkem je například zavedení dotačního titulu Obecní knihovna, kterým Jihomoravský kraj podporuje obnovu knihoven v obcích do 3000 obyvatel, tedy v těch nejpotřebnějších, ale i z podobných dotačních zdrojů financovaná. A již 6 let trvající aktivita na podporu čtenářství a mezigenerační výměny zkušeností Jižní Morava čte. Přičemž oba tyto projekty inspirovaly knihovníky v celé České republice a snaha o vytvoření podobných dotačních titulů se stala součástí řady koncepčních materiálů i jiných krajských knihoven. V oblasti celoživotního vzdělávání se zasadila o to, že se Moravská zemská knihovna stala první a současně klíčovou institucí, která připravila a zahájila výuku v akreditovaných programech NSK. I zde je autorkou či spoluautorkou metodik a učebních testů. A aktivně se zapojuje nejenom do organizování výuky, ale i do její praktické části. A je to? Někteří už víte. Magistra Adela Dilhofová, Moravská zemská knihovna v Brně. Zase požádám pana ministra o předání plakety. Drží. Tak ještě jednou prosím o potlesk. A pokud chcete hovořit, pultík je váš, já to tady pohlídám.
Vážené dámy, vážení pánové, mě se úplně třepe hlas. Ti, co mě znají, tak vědí, že je těžké mě zastavit a taky vědí, že jsem hodně emotivní. O to víc je to pro mě teď opravdu těžké. Věřte mi, je to úplně jiná situace, než každý rok jsem obvykle stávala se svými příspěvky v některých blocích, ale o tomto se mi nikdy nestalo. Stručně. Původně jsem měla na mysli 3 poděkování a 3 skromná přání. Teď nevím, jestli se mi to úplně povede. Možná pro odlehčení si dovolím jenom velmi stručný příběh. Já jsem kdysi už jednu tobolkovou medaili dostala, ale moc se o tom neví. Byl to konec května roku 2001, kdy v takové rozkvetlé zahradě za budovou tehdejší střední a vyšší odborné knihovnické školy probíhalo poslední zvonění maturantů 4. B. A oni se tenkrát mě, co by mladé učitelce začínající, která se snažila do nich nacpat všechny vědomosti, hlavně pro Boha, ať všechno vědí, ať vědí, kdy hledat v databázi ProQuest, kdy v databázi Web of Science, ať vědí, jak správně poskytovat meziknihovní výpůjční služby, ať v hodinách praxe zpracovávají kvalitní rešerše, ať vypracovávají kvalitní besedy pro děti. No a oni mi dali ocenění, což mě samotnou dojalo samozřejmě. Ocenění, tehdy to byla teda medaile papírová, tenoučká, ale hřála u srdce, ale byla jsem nesklamaná, ale oni mi to ocenění dali tenkrát za lidský a férový přístup. Bylo to pro ně víc a možná je to hodně i dnes. Za obě 2 medaile jsem samozřejmě nesmírně dojatá a strašně moc děkuji. Děkuji teď ty 3 poděkování. Samozřejmě komise, to se nepočítá, to nezapočítávám. První poděkování směřuje tomu, kdo mi položil kdysi dávno základy oboru, a to je pan docent Jaromír Kubíček. Já pevně věřím a doufám, že mu to bude vyřízeno, protože zakladatel vlastně vysoké školy našeho oboru v Brně tehdy jsem jeho hrdá a vždycky budu jeho hrdá absolventka. Druhé poděkování samozřejmě směřuje do Moravské zemské knihovny, protože kousky, já nevím, na kolik by ta medaile musela být, samozřejmě patří celému našemu týmu, samozřejmě panu řediteli. Tady bych si dovolila, snad mě to pan ředitel odpustí, takovou trochu metaforu, troufalou vzhledem k mé konstituci. Kdybychom si odskočili do sportovního prostředí, tak já si myslím, že když máte sportovce, který má nějaké schopnosti a dovednosti, a potřebujete mít k tomu toho trenéra, který vás táhne k těm vyšším a vyšším metám a cílům, takže to je zásluha samozřejmě pana ředitele. A od něj se taky lze naučit, jak ledasco překonávat a vůbec jak na to. Samozřejmě to nejsou to zásluhy jen moje. A třetí poděkování, tady si dovolím být trošku osobnější, protože vlastně takhle začnu tím, že já jsem na téhle půdě, jsem si uvědomila, na půdě, jak se to všechno spojuje, na půdě Univerzity Palackého jsem kdysi dávno studovala v rámci Centra celoživotního vzdělávání, které tady je, mimo jiné kurz, se to jmenovalo distančního vzdělávání, což byly vlastně základy toho, jak postavit e-learningové kurzy. A když se v roce 2010 objevila nabídka a možnost převzít, a tímto moc vzpomínám na paní magistru Neschlebovou, svoji předchůdkyni, která už bohužel není mezi námi letos, když se objevila nabídka s tím, že Moravská zemská se zaměří na vzdělávání malých knihovníků z obecních malých knihoven a že je potřeba postavit první e-learningový kurz, tak jsem to brala jako velkou výzvu, že by to mohlo být fajn, jenže jsem měla v té době ještě malé děti a to druhé moje dítko nebylo ani školkově vhodno a nepřicházelo v úvahu. A objevila se osoba, které patří velký dík, a to musím vyřídit dneska večer já, a ráda, která mi řekla, vem to, a tím to vlastně začalo, vem to, za pár měsíců půjdu do důchodu a já ti s dětmi pomůžu. A to byl můj tatínek, který opravdu to slovo splnil, tu rodinnou záštitu, to, že děti byly vyzvedávány z družiny, ještě vlastně pár let, ještě přednedávnem, tak to je vlastně jeho zásluha a jeho zázemí a posilování vlastně mezigeneračních vztahů s vnoučaty a obou straně. Takže to je poděkování ještě toto určitě vlastně důležité, bez které by to vlastně celé všechno taky nevzniklo. A teď ta 3 přání, už nebudu zdržovat, jsem upovídaná, i když je hodně dojatá. 3 přání jsou jednoduchá, je vidět, že jsem tím vzděláváním zdeformovaná. Moc bych nám všem přála, tomu našemu oboru, vzdělávání podporující a oceňující ředitele a zřizovatele knihoven. Vzdělávání motivované zaměstnance knihovníky a vzdělávání chtivé návštěvníky knihoven. Ještě jednou děkuji moc krát, moc si toho vážím a přeji vám krásnou celou konferenci.
Děkujeme za velmi milá a osobní slova. 3. Zatím nám vládne Brno. 3., kdo byl nominován za významný přínos k rozvoji českého knihovnictví, za mimořádný podíl na záchraně knihovního fondu Městské knihovny v Praze, za významný podíl na úspěšné realizaci velkých grantových knihovních projektů a projektů, které mají přesah do českého veřejného knihovnictví. Je paní doktorka Zuzana Kopencová. Bohužel dnes tu ze zdravotních důvodů s námi nemůže být, nicméně medaile jí bude ex post předána a pan ministr se k tomu zavázal, že ji osobně předá v Praze. Tak všichni jste to slyšeli a všichni jsme svědky. Ale vidím ředitelku kanceláře pana ministra, nebudeme slibovat kdy. Tak, dobře. Tak a teď ocenění, nechci říkat nejvyšší, ale ocenění za celoživotní práci v českém knihovnictví. A tento člověk, musím říct, že se mi dostal do ruky jeho životopis, který má asi 10 stran. A všechno mi připadalo tak zajímavé, že jsem si říkala, musím vám to vlastně jako všechno říct a všechno přečíst. Nicméně došla jsem k tomu, že vy všichni jste se s ním minimálně jednou, mnozí mnohokrát ve svém knihovnickém životě potkali, protože je v něm už velmi, velmi dlouho. Vysokoškolská studia ukončil rigorózní zkouškou v roce 1985 s titulem PhD v oboru knihovnictví a vědecké informace na Karlově univerzitě. V okresní knihovně Kroměříž, kam nastoupil v roce 1975, pracoval rok jako knihovník v oddělení pro děti a mládež. Už to vypadá, že to budu číst celé. Ale v letech 76 až 80 absolvoval studium na Univerzitě Karlově. Odborné znalosti a zkušenosti získával i v zahraničí během dlouhodobých studijních a pracovních pobytů v Belgii, v Kanadě a od roku 1980 až po současnost působí v Národní knihovně České republiky, dříve ve Státní knihovně ČSR. Mimo roční období, kdy pracoval jako metodik soustavy VTEI v ústředí vědecko-technických a ekonomických informací. Ve Státní knihovně vystřídal několik pracovních pozic. Začínal jako knihovník přímých služeb, později jako vedoucí oddělení knihoven. Rok byl tajemníkem ředitele sektoru služeb a specializovaných oddělení. Pak byl vědeckým tajemníkem knihovny, pak byl ředitelem odboru služeb, ředitelem úseku akvizice a služby, hlavním koordinátorem, náměstkem pro knihovní fondy a služby, ředitelem odboru doplňování fondů. A teď bychom tady mohli být ještě dalších 10 minut, protože skutečně prošel všemi možnými knihovnickými provozy. Nicméně, to, co za ním dále stojí, je to, že inicioval vznik a rozvoj virtuální referenční služby Ptejte se knihovny. To považuji za velmi důležitý počin já, protože vyhlašujeme vždycky každý rok ten dotaz, ten nejzajímavější dotaz Ptejte se knihovny. Takže to je zrovna služba, která se dostala k těm úplně všem uživatelům a i z mé osobní zkušenosti používá opravdu kdekdo. A teď bych mohla jako říct, zkuste zvednout ruku, kdo si myslíte, že víte, kdo to je. A podle toho výčtu a podle té dlouhodobé kontinuální práce v Národní knihovně těm, kteří nezvedli ruku, říkám, není to Vítek Richter. A nicméně, prosím o znělku, je to pan doktor Hanuš Hemola z Národní knihovny České republiky. Tak. A i zde poprosím pana ministra kultury, aby předal panu kolegovi Hemolovi. Mimořádná chvíle od prezidentky všech knihovníků. Tak, natáhnu čas, aby se potlačilo dojetí.
Dobrý den všem. Musím říct, že jsem dojatý, i když jsem to věděl. No, nikdy by mě nenapadlo, když jsem nastoupil v Kroměříži v okresní knihovně před těmi 47 lety, že to bude nadéle, že skončím, že budu rok v Kroměříži a potom teda budu pokračovat dál a že budu těch 42 let v Národní knihovně. Co říct víc, já děkuji těm, které to napadlo, mě ocenit, děkuji všem, kteří se o to zasloužili, děkuji těm, kteří za to můžou, že jsem tady. A to je všechno. Děkuji.
I my děkujeme. Já to teď ještě zkomplikuji a poprosím všechny oceněné, když jste si odložili ty dárky na jednu společnou fotografii s panem ministrem a se všemi předávajícími. Prosím, tam na tu stranu k vlajkám. Můžete na ně dělat různé obličeje, aby měli důvod se usmívat. Já si teď dovolím uzavřít tu velkou oficiální zahajovací ceremonii tím, že předám slovo panu doktoru Řehákovi. On se ho ujme.
Já ještě než uvedu první přednášející, tak si dovolím promluvit o pivě. Což je asi překvapivé, protože kdo mě dobře znáte, tak víte, že já úplně pivař nejsem. Ale o tomhle pivu se zmínit musím, protože ta láhev, kterou ocenění dostali, není, jak byste si možná mohli myslet, šampaňské nebo nějaké moravské víno. Ta láhev, kterou ocenění dostali, je pivo. A prosím, je to speciál, Tobolkův speciál, uvařený speciálně pro tuto příležitost, a těch lahví existuje 60 na celé planetě. Takže ocenění v tuto chvíli jsou prvními držiteli těchto lahví. Pár jich ještě během konference majitele změní, protože například nenecháme odejít své čestné hosty bez tohodle zcela mimořádného nápoje.
Jistě je to zajímavá zkušenost někomu z Plzně předat pivo. I já děkuji všem, kteří nám pomohli 30. roční konference Knihovny současnosti zahájit. A vím, že pan ministr má další program, takže se s ním rozloučíme. Děkujeme mnohokrát.
Já si dovolím poděkovat jak panu ministru, tak panu hejtmanu, pak paní docence a těšíme se na viděnou za rok, zase touhle dobou. Tak, jsme dokonale na čas, to je super. A přistoupíme k odbornému programu. Víte, že už mnoho let zveme na ten první den keynote speakery, mimořádné, zajímavé a inspirující osobnosti ze zahraničí. Letos, protože je to 30. ročník jubilejní, tak máme dokonce hned 4. A hned ten první speaker je mimořádný v mnoha ohledech. My jsme to dneska ráno u snídaně počítali, že se známe 19 let. Já jsem považoval za velké vítězství, když se mi tehdy Barbaru už jako president-elect, tedy člověka, který už byl zvolen, ale ještě nebyl úřadující prezidentkou IFLI, podařilo sem dostat před 3 lety na konferenci jako speakera. Mnozí z vás ji možná pamatujete na její přednášku tady. Už jsem si říkal, hele, zkusíme to, jestli by fakt nepřijela aspoň na chviličku, i když už bude opravdovou prezidentkou. A je tady. Je tady ale v tuhle chvíli nejenom jako prezidentka IFLI, jako člověk, který má obrovské zahraniční zkušenosti a zná světové knihovnictví jako opravdu málo kdo. Je tady jako knihovnice taky. Jak ona o sobě s hrdostí říká, že je opravdová knihovnice, že to vystudovala, že jako knihovnice pracovala. Při pohledu na ní je neuvěřitelné, že už 30 let dělá ředitelku knihovny v Brémách. A má co říct i po té odborné stránce. A tak, protože si myslím, že všichni už netrpělivě čekáme, co nám poví, tak já přestanu tady povídat o ní a předám slovo přímo jí. Takže dámy a pánové, první příspěvek se jménem Podpora IFLA, podpora globálního knihovnictví prostřednictvím partnerství a spolupráce, přednese prezidentka IFLI Barbara Lisson. Barbara, yours is the floor. A jak se Barbara ujme slova, tak jenom připomínám, že můžete prostřednictvím aplikace Slido klást průběžně dotazy, na které potom přednášející ve finále odpoví. Ty dotazy můžete klást i v češtině, my je přeložíme. Byl tady QR kód, pokud jste se ještě nestihli do aplikace Slido přihlásit, tak možná ho pojďme ještě na vteřinku promítnout. Just a moment, we will beam the QR code for the Slido, so okay. the people can ask the question. So můžete použít tenhle QR kód, abyste si pustili Slido. Případně pokud máte aplikaci Slido, tak ten hashtag KKS22 funguje také a nemusíte číst QR kód. A samozřejmě můžete klást pak i otázky, takže ve finále zvednete ruku, někdo k vám přijde s mikrofonem a můžete otázku přednést na hlas. I tohle je možnost. Tak, now yours is the floor.
Sorry, it's too loud. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here again. Thank you very much, Thomas, for your kind explanation about myself. Thank you. It's always interesting to hear what other people say about oneself, so that's good. I'm happy to be here. I was here 3 years ago. I already talked about IFLA 3 years ago, and I will talk about IFLA, but of course with another accent, maybe. And partnership, I was asked to talk about partnerships, and partnerships for me is so important for everything, for personal life, for professional life, even for kind of political life as well, if there is one. And I'm so happy that we have now, in Germany, we have a partnership, a German-Czech partnership of the libraries. We started this in May, in June, Hella? Well, in spring. In spring this year, at the Leipzig conference, we had a delegation of many people who are now in the room, being in Leipzig, and we initiated this 3-year partnership. We had a partnership with the Netherlands. Before then, we had a partnership with the USA. And now we are having this partnership with the Czech Republic. And we are so happy about that. And we are so happy that you are so active. We are so happy that there is no real pandemic at the moment, because then we can meet. We can come to Czech Republic. You can come to Germany. There is a lot of grants which you can get to come to Germany. Hella will talk about that. She will have a special session tomorrow about that. So partnership is crucial for everybody, but partnership surely is crucial for the librarians as well, because we don't want to be alone, and if we are alone, we cannot really be successful as we want to be. So let's start about talking about IFLA first, because I'm sure that IFLA is not known to everybody. When I started to be a librarian, I thought, well, IFLA is a conference. because people said we are going to IFLA. But you will see that IFLA is much more than just a conference. Because IFLA is the global voice of libraries, the global voice of libraries. And I also say it is the global voice for libraries, because it is an international body that represents the interests of our profession, of the libraries and information profession. But for me, it is always very important to say that we are not only representing our interests, our professional interests, because our professional interests are the mirrors, or are mirrored in the interests of our users, of our clientele, of our patrons, because we work for them. So our interests is their interests, and their interests is our interests. So yeah, that's me. I'm the IFLA president. The president is always for 2 years. I started in August 2021, and so I will have another almost a year to be president, to be your president as well. Every president has a theme. And my theme is libraries building a sustainable future. And what else shall we do? You just said it, everyone said it, that our future is important and we need sustainability in so many aspects, and libraries help with that. And this is, you know, the circle of the SDGs, of the Sustainable Development Goals. IFLA is a federation, a big organization with a headquarters in The Hague, luckily in The Hague and not in New York, so I can go to the Netherlands from Bremen, where I am located quite often and quite easily. But we also, of course, have representations and offices in other parts of the world, and we work in 7 languages. We work in 7 languages. The main working language is English, and then we have French, Spanish, German as well, Russian, Chinese, and Arabic. So these, unfortunately, not Czech. These are the 7 languages, and when you go to the IFLA website, I will just show it to you, then you can see many things in many languages. We, of course, have core values. Every institution should have core values where their work is based on. And the main basis for our core values is, of course, the Declaration of Human Rights. And here it is Article 19, where it said that the freedom of access to information, ideas, and works of imagination, and the freedom of expression is the most important thing. And all our other core values are based on this basic thing. So when people are asking us librarians, what is your core values? Yes, of course, freedom of access to information and freedom of expression. And based, of course, on these core values, we developed our aims to execute our tasks as best as possible to meet these core values. You can see these are the aims of our federation. So when you want to have a quick look what's happening at IFLA, what is there, how is the organization, please go to the IFLA website. We have a website just for 1 year. It's not brand new, but it's quite new, and you can find it in many languages, and in the 7 languages, so you are able to read it, and I'm sure you can read it also in English or in other languages. We also have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. So when you subscribe to the monthly newsletter, you get the hot topic information that is needed to have an understanding not only of IFLA, because the hot topics are, of course, related to the world of the libraries. And we have something which might be very interesting to you, because we have a website which is called Library Map of the World. The Library Map of the World is an information about the libraries in many, many countries. And I'm very happy you can see that your country is also represented in the Library Map of the World. That means people who want to know something about Czech libraries can go to the Library Map of the World and they search for the Czech Republic, and then they find a lot of information, as well as you can do this, of course, about your country and the libraries in your country. We had a process of, let's say, 4 to 5 years to innovate our work, And we had, first of all, we had the so-called global vision process. The global vision process asked everyone who is in the library field, what is the real sense of libraries? What are libraries are for? What are the challenges libraries have to meet? And I will come to back later on. And based on the results of this process, where people of many countries, about 30,000 participants in surveys, in meetings, in workshops, brought their ideas to this global vision process. Based on this global vision process, we developed a strategy, a new strategy, which is from 19 to 24. And in order to execute a strategy, we also reviewed our organization and have new statutes in 2021. So let's have a closer look to the global vision. Yes, and it's about partnership again. The challenges facing the library field from ever-increasing globalization can only be met and overcome by an inclusive, global response from a united library field. And a united library field also implies partnerships. That's what it's all about. So the key findings, you remember 30,000 responses in workshops, surveys, and so on said, we are united globally in our goals and values. We librarians, we are. And we must connect globally and locally in order to act effectively. I want to show you some of the highlights related to partnerships. There are 10 highlights, and highlight number 7 is we see the need to build collaboration and partnerships. So these 30,000 people said, yes, we need it. But in order to have the spirit of this, we need to develop a spirit of collaboration. I know several people, not only in libraries, who say, well, I'm too busy to have partners. I'm too busy to collaborate with others. Oh no, this is not the way of having the spirit of collaboration. Another highlight is we are the guardians of the memory of the world. Of course we are, but we are not alone. This is also something where we have to partner, and we also have to partner and maximize access to the world's documentary heritage. And something, the next one, that's my favorite one. Our young professionals, and here are so many young people, I'm happy, our young professionals are deeply committed and eager to lead. I think you are. But what shall we in our age do, Thomas? We should give the young professionals opportunities to learn, to develop, and to lead, and give them not only the opportunities, but let them do, without saying, huh, what are you doing, you see? So these are some examples of the global vision results. And now some information about the IFLA strategy. We have 4 strategic directions. One strategic direction, strengthen the global voice of libraries. Number 2, inspire and enhance professional practice. Connect and empower the field. You see, everywhere you find the word partnership. And optimize the organization. Let's have a look of 2 of them. So, strategic direction number 1 reads, we listen to and understand the priorities of the whole field and amplify the message through advocating for libraries and their values on a global and regional level. And every strategic direction has 4 key initiatives, field of action, you might say. And when you look at strategic direction 1, the key initiative number 2, build a strong presence in international organizations and meetings as a valued partner. Here you again have partnership, not partnership within the field of libraries, but outside of the field of libraries. So, why are we engaged in partnership as IFLA? Very much. We have seen this, build a strong presence in international organizations and meeting as a valued partner. I think this is a good saying, therefore I wanted to show it to you. That's an African saying, if you want to walk fast, walk alone, but if you want to walk far, walk together. And this is something which is, for me, the background of many actions, of many activities that I do. So what is the benefits of partnerships and collaboration? So there is a lot of benefits. You can bundle resources. So your resources, the other resources, and the other resources makes a bundle of resources which helps you to be more effective. Or you can reduce costs because you are not doing all the same. You're not reinventing the wheels in several different places. So you can increase productivity. And you can, of course, market your position. It's not just me who is showing what I'm doing, it's more who are showing what you're doing. And we had the politicians here, and seeing what we are doing is much better than seeing if only one people is doing. And we can, together, we can acquire new stakeholders, new partners as well. But there is also downsides of partnership, because you cannot longer make decisions on your own. You have to respect the position of your partner, and sometimes that leads to compromises. You also have to share profits. If there is a profit, it's not 100% your profit, it's the profit of all of them, and you have to share them. And of course, you can lose a bit of independence, but you are gaining. So it's always a balance between the gains and the losses of a partnership, but in my opinion, it is always, well, the scale goes to the partnership. That's more important. So let's have a look how IFLA is partnering. For which topics? Advocacy. I'm sure that you are all eager doing advocacy for your work, for your libraries, for your customers, for your patrons. And IFLA has several topics where IFLA is doing advocacy for the libraries of the world. And you can see 5 of them. And one of the main topics, of course, are the Sustainable Development Goals, not only for IFLA, but for each library, that they can show that they are an active, important actor in the sustainable development strategy of a city, of a region, sometimes even of a nation. And look at all this, but you have not to read this. This is professional development. IFLA has more than 50 professional working groups. They're all up there. 50 professional working groups where partners from all over the world, from the libraries, come together and work on special topics for the library field. Not only for several types of libraries, but for many, many other issues. So that is, of course, partnering. And IFLA is the platform for these partnerships for the professional development. And altogether, in these more than 50 working groups, there are more than 1,200 volunteers who bring that out. For instance, who is from the public libraries here? Oh, well, okay. Do you know the IFLA UNESCO Public Library Manifesto? Thomas knows. Yeah. Who knows the? Great. And this is the edition, which you know perhaps, is from 1994. Already one of these groups, the Public Library Group, they developed that Public Library Manifesto in 1994. And now there is a new edition, just came out again, IFLA UNESCO Public Library Manifesto. And to have the word UNESCO in it gives the manifesto, of course, more importance. I wouldn't say IFLA is not important, but to have the combination with UNESCO, that's more important. Go to your alderman in your city and say, well, we have the IFLA UNESCO Public Library Manifesto. I think the alderman will look at it differently as if you would say, we have the IFLA Public Library Manifesto. So this is our work, you see, the professions, the professional development, and we give the platform and bring that out. The next thing, the Sustainable Development Goals, as I just mentioned, we are partnering with many institutions to show the power of libraries with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And I could talk about the Sustainable Development Goals for hours. And we are also now, with the new statutes, we are working in a region. The UN, the United Nations, have 6 regions of the world, and we are following this concept of the United Nations regions. And of course, there is a region, Europe, and Europe now has a regional division for working with IFLA headquarters and working with IFLA professional units and so on. Hella is one member of that region for Europe. Do we have a Czech member? I don't know. No, we haven't. Not yet, not yet. So, yeah, you can see. And these are the projects, again, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and so on. So, just to finish up, I would like to show you some of the long-term partners of IFLA outside the library field. As I just said, this is the example, the UNESCO Public Library Manifesto. You see it was launched, the new edition, in Dublin at our last conference, well, almost a month ago. And we also celebrate 75 years of partnership with UNESCO. 75 years of partnership with UNESCO, very important. And we also, with subgroups of UNESCO, with the Adult Education Group of UNESCO, we already partner for a long time. And we partner also with the United Nations. I wanted to show you this photo. This is a former IFLA president, Donna Shida. Unfortunately, she passed away this year, and she was talking in the United Nations about libraries and the value of libraries within the Sustainable Development Goals already in 2014, 2015. Imagine, this was really something great. And this is continuing. Now the United Nations invited librarians to talk about the successes and the results of that process. Like this, it was just happened just 2 months ago or so. And we have other partners. We have other library partners like the European Union of the Library Associations, EBLIDA, the Union of the Academic Associations, LIBER. We work together with the World Blind Union, with other institutions of the cultural field, and also, very important, the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, which is, you cannot say really a partner, that is the highest level of decision level of copyright. So what is discussed and decided about copyright on that level in the WIPO goes then down to the continents, goes down to the nations. And copyright is so important for us, you know. And very important, especially for the libraries, the municipal libraries, is a rather new cooperation with UCLG. That's the United Cities and Legal Conferences. So the cities and the directors and the high administration of the cities of the world now have also discovered the libraries as important partners for their political ambitions and their political goals. This is very important as well. So we had an Izmir Declaration, Culture Shapes the Future of Humanity, and libraries are in this Izmir Declaration, which was passed in October last year. So, I always say, when it comes to our library field, let's be inspired, engaged, enabled, and connected. Yes, connected and partner and collaborate. So thank you very much for your attention. We are IFLA.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear Barbara. Teď přichází chvíle, kdy můžeme začít klást otázky. Jak jsem říkal, jedna možnost je použít to slajdo, druhá možnost je přihlásit se, požádat o mikrofon a říct otázku nahlas. Je už někdo, kdo má otázku připravenou? Nikoho nevidím, položím první otázku já. I will fire the first question and I'll speak in English. And it's not going to be an easy one, actually.
Well, I don't expect
Speaking about libraries, we speak about mainly public institutions, which usually are deeply rooted into either local or national policy-making power. Libraries are usually financed from the public money. They are influenced by public policies and so on. And on international level, that question actually emerged in my mind when you speak about the languages you use: English, Russian, Chinese. I mean, the war is rather complicated, and not all nations are really seeking peaceful cooperation with others. So you are dealing on a global level with libraries who are depending on their local policymakers, which sometimes have a completely different opinion how the world should look like. So how do you deal with that as a president of IFLA?
That's, I know that you are always the question which is the most complicated. Well, I think there is, how shall I start? Like all the other diplomats, I think working for IFLA in the world, meeting people of different interests, of different political opinions, of different societal, organizational rules and all this, laws, legislation, you have to be very, very diplomatic, but you have to stand for your conviction. So you should not say, well, everything what you're doing is good when you are criticizing things, but you should not say everything what you're doing is wrong. So it is, I think it's a diplomatic challenge for IFLA, not only in the IFLA president, but also for staff of IFLA who is also traveling to many countries. Like, for instance, some time ago I was invited by China to speak on the Forum of Democracy in China. What would you do? What would you do? Well, I gave a very nice speech about the value of libraries and what the libraries could do for society and for the education of the people and all this. I did not speak about democracy because that would have really be unnecessary, because you cannot do this. So you talk about democracy from the point of libraries. What can libraries do to create democracy? And when you say libraries are there to give the people the opportunity to be open-minded, to find what they want to find, and give the background for creating their interests and creating their own position, that does not really touch the Chinese kind of political structure. But for those people who would like to understand what I say, they will understand it. And that is always, it's always like you see, when I was at the university, I studied Slavonic languages in the 70s, and I was in the then Soviet Union quite often, had a lot of friends there, a lot of people who are not Soviet Union supporters. And you learned to read things in a different way. So you had always, perhaps you remember that, some of you, that you always read what's behind the lines, what was between the lines, and you did not say, well, this is written like this and it must be like that. So you always tried to understand what was between the lines. And a bit like this is I understand my task to do, to say something and give the people the opportunity to understand my saying between the lines.
Thank you very much. And there is a first question from Slido. Do you agree with libraries being just a warm place for people who actually have no relations toward books? just a warm, comfortable place for people who has no relations or no feeling about books?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because we are not educators. We are giving opportunities. We are giving, what would you say? We are giving the whole picture. We are giving the horizon, and people should pick what they want. And maybe through serendipity effects, they come to a book. But you need not say, well, this is the book. You mind, this is the librarian of the 60s, and not the librarian of the new millennium. And I just was in Helsinki. Yesterday I came from Helsinki. I have seen Oodi Library. Who has been to Oodi already? Ah, yes, some already. You see, that's a library where you enter. There's no book on the first floor, on the ground floor. There's almost no book on the second floor. And there's a lot of books on the third floor. And there's a creative and warm atmosphere on the third floor. On the second floor, there is no books, but there is also a creative atmosphere, a totally different creative atmosphere with handicraft stuff. You can lend out different guitars and go to a studio where you can record your things. You can record short podcasts and ever like that. So they have different studios. So that is an offering of a totally different kind of library, but people who don't want books go to the library to be able to record perhaps their poems. You don't know. You don't know. So we are not asking, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? We just give the offer. We offer the service for people who have the opportunity to take into account a way of doing which they could not do at home, which they are not able to do at home. So books is okay. Still, when we had the pandemic, there was a lot of people who wanted the books. The libraries were closed, so they had the curbside service and everything else. They wanted the books. But we should not say, no visit to the library without lending out a book.
Děkuji. Na slajdu zatím žádná další otázka není. Ještě myslím, že jednu, možná dvě stihneme. Tak se ptám, jestli někdo z publika má otázku, chtěl by zvednout ruku a položit otázku. Můžete samozřejmě klást otázky i v češtině. Máme tlumočení. Už se objevila. This is in English. Where is the question?
Is there in China any progress in providing information, for example, complete technical informations, relevant news from foreign countries, etc.? Actually, well, you know, the librarians and the libraries are not the only information providers. There's information coming in through different channels. The Chinese libraries are, I think they are educators, and they are educators also in a political sense, so to bring the people to a certain intellectual level, to a certain knowledge level, and also to give them or to show them the right way into politics. That's one thing. And of course, the Chinese politics about all digital media are not acceptable from our point of view, but you cannot say, well, you are like this. The libraries give opportunities for different ways. And I think once a person or an individual has understood that learning is very important, that having more knowledge in order to proceed in their own lives, they might then, maybe based on the experience in a library, they might then look for other information to get that through. You have seen, I mean, I think from photos or YouTube, the exceptional buildings of the Chinese libraries. Exceptional, 60,000, 80,000 square meters, some beautiful, beautiful buildings, and a lot of, I visited maybe 10 years ago already in Hangzhou in China. They already had these studios. They had these studios. Now we say, wow, in Oodi we have the studios and all this with all these music studios. In Hangzhou, already 10 years ago, they had the studios. They invested the money. So they they gave the money to wake up the creative potential of the population. And once the creative potential is being woken up, there might be also coming another conscious and other understanding of the world, which might lead that people get more information and try to get other information as that information which is available at the moment. So it's a step-by-step thing, I think.
Thank you. And the last question we have, asking you about what approach IFLA stands toward Russian libraries, according or taking into consideration the invasion to Ukraine.
Of course, the IFLA is the governing board. That's the body which is deciding the day-to-day things. We have the General Assembly, of course, that is the membership assembly. And the governing board, of course, just on the 25th of February, talked about statements to bring out. And there were different opinions. First thing is, it's important to realize that in the governing board of IFLA, there is not only Europeans. In the governing board of IFLA, there are people from other continents, from Asia, from Latin America, from South Africa. And they were not as much shocked as we were about the invasion, because they have suffered similar things already years ago, decades ago. Imagine, try to remember what has been happening in other parts of the world, which cruelties, which aggressive actions have been taken place in other parts of the world. So they say, well, now you Europeans, you are thinking about it, but what did you do when this was happening, when that was happening, and that was happening? And this is a mixture. An international body is something else than a European body. So we brought out a statement, and we did not, for several reasons, we did not exclude Russian associations. We did not exclude members of Russian institutions who were in the professional groups you have just seen. In these 50 groups, there are some Russian people, of course there are, Russian colleagues. But we did is that we said we have no active relationships at all. And even some of the Russian colleagues sent us letters saying, we stop working at the moment, so we don't do anything now, we just feel suspended, we suspend ourselves a little bit. So they were very conscious, some of them. And our statutes do not say exclude people who have started war. They don't say this. And so we had no legal opportunity to say, well, we have to exclude the Russian associations or Russian institutions. We just stopped working with them. For instance, I had several invitations to travel to Russia or even to speak online for Russian conferences. I said, no, I don't do that anymore. These things happen, and my colleagues did that as well. But we did not exclude them because our statutes would not give the opportunity to do this. And imagine we have people from all over the world in our board, and also not only in our board, but in the association as well. So this is a very tricky balance, and it was a very tricky balance, and we had heavy discussions. I can tell you we had heavy discussions on the board, what to do and how to react. And IFLA staff is working together with many, again, partners to support the Ukraine and the Ukrainian librarians in different connections. We invited a representative from Ukraine to IFLA, to the World Library and Information Congress, things like that. But we did not exclude neither the associations nor members from institutions.
Thank you very much. And this was the last question because we have to pass the floor to other speaker. So thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tak a já chci předat slovo druhému řečníkovi, který nám přinese svůj program. Barbara říkala, že to česko-německé česko-německá spolupráce českých a německých knihovníků začala letos na jaře. To vlastně není úplně přesné. Já to teď můžu říkat, protože ona teď nemá tlumočení, takže neví, že ji tady opravuju. Protože my si všichni pamatujeme, že memorandum o česko-německé spolupráci jsme před rokem podepsali tady. Byla tady tehdy Sabine Homilius, která za německou stranu podepisovala tu deklaraci, která říká, že po 3 roky, počínaje skutečně letošním jarem, si německé knihovnictví jako svého partnera vybralo české knihovnictví a my jsme samozřejmě souhlasili, protože je to pro nás jednak prestižní záležitost a jednak samozřejmě velká příležitost. A proto, abychom se navzájem trochu lépe poznali, tak české knihovnictví mělo velkou reprezentaci na Lipském knihovnickém kongresu letos na jaře a část té prezentace si můžete prohlédnout i vy tady na konferenci. Je umístěna část toho našeho stánku, je tady umístěná, takže se můžete podívat. A zároveň tam budete mít příležitost se potkat s Hella Klauser, která je dalším speakerem. Hella Klauser je tajemnicí německého svazu, ale také dlouholetou knihovnicí, jak jsem říkal, stejně jako v případě Barbary. Hella je opravdický knihovník, pracovala jako ředitelka knihoven Goethe institutu v řadě zemí a teď v tuto chvíli tady ale reprezentuje německé knihovnictví, aby nám řekla, s kým že se to vlastně kamarádíme. So, Hella, please, yours is a floor and we are eager to hear about who we actually have our partnership with.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation coming here to your beautiful city, to Olomouc. And I'm really delighted to talk a little about our partner country initiative. And before I start, I also want to thank the translators for their great job in translating into English or the other way around. So we heard a lot already about partnership. Partnership without language, without understanding is difficult. So a big thank you to the translators. Yes, before I start talking a little about our partner country initiative, I want to talk a little about international exchange, and I really can do this short because Barbara already had said a lot about the importance of partnerships and working together also on an international level. And this is what I stand for. I really try to engage our colleagues in German libraries to become more internationally involved. And why should we do all this? Because we all work on the same topics. We are stronger working together, as we all know. And we can exchange our best practice, our experience to become better in our own libraries. And how can we do this? We heard about IFLA, the International Association of Libraries. There are also more other European library associations where we can involve. There are the binational relations, like we will foster now with our initiative for 2 countries, library visits, or also invitations to national conferences, like I was invited today to come to your place. Yes, so this is very important. In Germany, we also try to foster this. And I can tell you, I still hear a lot of voices coming from the libraries saying, yes, it's very important to be internationally, and we really support this for our library workers. But unfortunately, we do not have the time to do this, and we do not have the money to send one of our colleagues to an international conference. But for the others, it is really important. So these are always the arguments when we have to start saying, no, it is for every one of us. For every one of us, it is important to look abroad and to see that the library world is as big as our world as it is, and we need to work together. So, and one of the programs of working together more closely is our partnership initiative. And this is a very nice program. I think one of the best we had so far in Germany. And now I want to tell you a little about this partnership. It all started with an idea, or let's say a best practice. Barbara and myself were in France, and we participated at the French National Conference, and our French colleagues had invited guests from other countries to be part of their national conference. And Barbara and myself, we thought, wow, this is a nice idea. Why don't we do it in Germany as well? And this is what we did. We convinced our colleagues to invite some other colleagues from other countries. And we have every 3 years a big conference. We have every year a national conference, where every third is a little different and a little more on international matters. So for this big conference, we invited some guests. And perhaps you know that on the big book fair in Frankfurt, they also have a guest country. So we installed a guest country with Denmark as our first guest, and they presented themselves. They had a booth there, they had a speech on their library scene, and had some information about libraries in Denmark. Then 3 years later, it was Spain. We invited Spain, the Spanish colleagues. They participated in our conference. They brought some material, some information, and presented themselves. With Turkey then, 3 years later, we had the same. They came to our conference, but during the next months, we had some more exchange. There was a group coming from Turkey visiting German libraries, and we went to their national conference. So it expanded a little. And then with the United States, for the first time, we thought, okay, we always have 3 years. Let's fill these 3 years with activities, especially with this country and the library scene in this country, and get more details out of the library scene of the country. So then, with the US, we had a partner country, And at the end, they were invited to our national conference. And here we saw this was a mistake. It was the wrong, the first, I don't know the English word, but first, we should have done the invitation in our conference and then have the continuation. Because with the US, we saw suddenly our colleagues in the conference said, oh, wow, the US is our partner country, great, what can we do? But then it was already over. So we had first the 3 years and then the final in our conference. So taking this experience with our next partner country, the Netherlands, we changed it, we switched it. So we started with a great start at our conference, so all our colleagues in the libraries knew, aha, Netherlands, new partner country, and then we wanted to do a lot of exchange and study tours to our neighbor, to the Netherlands. And this is exactly the same format we then continued with our new partners, with our colleagues from the Czech Republic for the next 3 years. So, with the United States, for us in Germany, the United States are a very interesting library country, and another great thing is they speak English, so not a different language, so many, we get around with English. It is interesting to go there, but what we also had as an experience, the distance is quite far. We always have to fly, this is expensive, so we couldn't send as many colleagues as we wanted to do. It's always, a big thing to go to the United States. This was what we learned, but nevertheless, we had a great study trip, participated at their huge conference, annual conference. This is an experience. 30,000 yes, 30,000 participants. And also, of course, we had different visits coming from US colleagues to Germany as well. Yes, so we thought, okay, the next country, the Netherlands, is very close to Germany. You can take the train or the car, you can even walk to the Netherlands. So this is great, and we will send a lot of colleagues to go there and to have a look, because for us, and I'm sure you agree, the Netherlands also is a very interesting library country, with a lot of developments going on, with a lot of new ideas they install in their libraries, and a lot of very interesting library buildings. So we wanted to get to know more and to see, to go there and to have the exchange there in their country. But then the pandemic came. So we had to switch again. We could send hardly any colleagues to go there by themselves. And so we thought, okay, now we have the partner country. What do we do? So we switched to the virtual and had this German-Dutch dialogue on the future of libraries, which was a webinar series, and we took topics which were important for both countries, had a speaker coming from Germany, a speaker coming from the Netherlands, which means you have to switch to the English language. And this means we had a huge global success, because suddenly people from all over the world could join our webinars. And so I can tell you, so we had 8 webinars and almost 4,000 people participating. So this was really a great success. So we saw, okay, this works as well. It was wonderful, but still we were very, very sorry that we couldn't, do the face-to-face exchanges. So this is what we learned so far. And we also learned and know that communication is very important. It is not only important to get to tell our colleagues, hey, we put a focus for the next 3 years to one special country, so engage yourself as a librarian, but also to make known what already exists, because in the relationships there is already so much going on, but colleagues, we don't know about this, and we can take more profit out of it. So we invented this logo, and it is not seen very well, but the yellow between the US and the Netherlands is a different yellow. And then we decided together with our Czech colleagues to have a different color, but the same kind of format. And here we learned as well, because this is the logo I prefer best. It is a combined logo with our two countries in our logo. And so we can, what we use this logo for is really put a frame around all the different activities. And for the publications we have, it's always the logo which shows, aha, this is part of our initiative. So, this was in general. So what does it mean, being a partner country, the Czech-German partner country? It started last year here, also in Olomouc, with our president of our umbrella association, BIDEA, was invited here, and you signed the mutual agreement, which only says very much in general, we want to work more closely together for the next 3 years. And we ask ourselves, what does it mean? What can we do? So the big start was on our national conference in Leipzig this year. In May, there was a delegation coming from your country, presenting your library country with a booth, with being there, with presentations in the program, with very different participation points. And here you have some examples, the wonderful booth up there in the colors of the logo, as you may recognize. And you brought materials in German for the German colleagues. You had an overview presentation about your library scene. Many different things were going on. There was down there at the bottom, you see the mayor of the city of Leipzig welcoming you and our international guests to the city of Leipzig and to the conference. So this for us was a great start, and we also had a brainstorming session where we said, okay, now how can we fill these 3 years? Because 3 years, it's both. It's a very short period of time. You know, you have to get started and so on, and whoops, 3 years are over. On the other hand, 3 years can be a long period of time to be filled with actions, with exchange programs. So you really have to, you know, see how you want to use this time. And also, when we decided on, looking for another partner country, you know, we were thinking, okay, now after all these different countries you just saw, now it is time to look for another country. Why did we ask you to become our new partner country? Because you saw we had the United States and other countries, they were more located in the West or in Northern Europe, so we thought it is about time to look more to Middle Europe. So this was important to us. Another big reason for us was that we are neighboring countries, so it is also, we do not have to fly, but it is easy to be reached into both directions, to really have the contacts to the meetings, make them more easy. And we also recognized that we do not know a lot of your library scene in your country. So it is interesting, we are neighbors and we know that there is already a lot going on in our libraries working together, but many of us do not know about it. So we thought it is a good time and good reason to ask you to become our partner, and we were very happy that you agreed. And this is why we are now for the next 3 years partners. And in this brainstorming session in Leipzig, we discussed, yes, how can we fill the next 3 years? So here are some of the topics we collected. Of course, advocacy for libraries. This is a topic which is important for every library in the world. Marketing of advocacy, lobbying, the funding, lobbying for funding. Democracy, integration, community, a big topic in your country as well as in ours. Lifelong learning, we heard about this. The SDGs, you had a great initiative, an annual topic. So this is also an idea. We were thinking of having a continuation of this topic for 1 year to really get into one topic in more details. So there are many ideas, of course. So we have enough topics to do exchanges, to do conferences together, to have a webinar series together, whatsoever. So here we also have some formats. We talked about those as well. What can we do? Of course, combine the virtual and the physical, because for the virtual, many more people can participate than really getting on the train and coming to the other country. The annual topic I just talked about. We also want to reach our new professionals. It is important to reach them when they start their career being a librarian. They have to understand the importance of international exchange. So, yes, and one of our, the program we in Germany have experience in already is a program invented by the Goethe Institute, I can say. It is called Librarian in Residence. Here we choose a topic, have a competition for colleagues who are working in this field. So it is really a program for specialists already having experience in their libraries. They apply and they get a grant to come to your country. Now we will switch to your country from every partner country. Now it will be your country, to have the time of 1 or 2 weeks as they wish to really get in contact, see experiences, talk to people, get into their special topic. And of course they have to report back, so as many colleagues in Germany as possible will profit out of their experiences in your libraries. So we would love to have one librarian in residence even this year, although we know it is quite, you know, the year is almost over, but still we will try to send one German to one of your libraries on the topic of partnership. As we heard, one of the most important topics. And then next year, we are thinking, we have not decided yet, we are thinking of the topic of connecting libraries. Yeah, connecting libraries, university libraries in your university surroundings, public libraries in your communities, between partner cities in the 2 countries, connecting with other partners in a city. So there are many possibilities of connecting libraries, connecting to your users. So this could be our topic for next year's, and we will have we will then have a competition, and hope that many of you will participate then and get the chance for you then to come to Germany for a special stay as librarian in residence. And of course, we hope very much that the pandemic will be kind to us and will allow us to send to some study tours or do some other exchanges as well. And for this, I want to announce that our next national conference will be next year in May in Hanover. Hanover is a city in the middle of Germany. And the call for papers, also in English, is up already. So you can apply there to send your topic for a presentation. It is until November 30th you can apply for a presentation, and then will be part of our program. And I hope that there will be a lot of people from the Czech libraries be in the program of our next year's National Annual Conference. So please take the chance and be part of us, as I am happy to be part of your conference today. And then I have to say we also are lucky enough to have some possibilities for grants as well, grants for you to come to Germany. It is, those are grants from BI International. Barbara is our speaker of this commission. So it is easy to apply for a grant, and you can either go to a library in Germany to stay there for a week or 10 days to really work there and make your experience. You can also find a group and come for a study tour and get a financial support there. Or if in Germany, if there will be an international conference, also in English, then you can also apply coming there and participating at the conference. So there is this possibility, and I will be, tomorrow you will have time to contact me if you need more information concerning that. So please come and get more information about the BII grants. It's a great thing, and it's easy to apply for, and I think you should really take advantage out of this now that we are partners. So, for finishing, I have to tell you a little story. And when I prepared my stay and my coming here, I thought, what can I bring to you? And then I had the idea that quite a few libraries in Germany have these library bags, as you have as well. So, but I didn't have a lot of time. There was only a few days time left before I had to leave to come here. So I wrote to the libraries in Germany and told them that I was invited here and that I would like to bring like a symbol of welcome to you coming to Germany, to send me one of their bags, and I would bring them here, and you come, please come and get them, the bags then, to have a little reminder of coming to Germany. It's like, the suitcase. It's not a suitcase, but it's a bag for a symbol of, yes, the connection. There is a contact in each bag, so you can contact your bag library immediately. So within 3 or 4 days, 55 libraries had sent me their bag to my office. And you see there some of the bags. So then I had to change my suitcase, of course. I had to take the big one. And I carried these heavy library bags here. And they are now in the room. Veronica, which room is it where you... So tomorrow, please come and get your bag. Otherwise, I will not take them home again. And the German colleagues will be very disappointed if I have to tell them that you didn't want them. So you have to come and get the bags. And I was really astonished how different the materials, the formats, the colors of those bags can be. So this is a fun story, and I hope you will enjoy taking your bag home. Okay, so this is already a good start for our partnership. I'm really looking forward to our next 3 years. I want to thank the participants of our working groups. We already have 2 working groups preparing all our activities. Tomasz is, of course, part of it. Veronika is doing a great part of it. So we are looking for a lot of exchange, and I can only say welcome to Germany. Come visit our library scene, and I say thank you, Dankeschön, and Dike. Yes.
Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you for the kind invitation for cooperation, and we highly appreciate that. Já tentokrát nedám prostor pro dotazy, protože jednak si myslím, že Hela pokryla ty nejdůležitější věci, ale protože, abychom využili to pozvání a zítra se potkali v místnosti N14, kde Hela dopoledne i odpoledne vždycky bude nějaký čas připravená povídat si, přijímat náměty na spolupráci, because the brainstorming of possible cooperation topics and formats is not closed yet. We are at the very beginning, so if you want to propose some kind of cooperation, Hela is the best person to do it, and of course to take your library back from Germany. All the questions will be asked tomorrow to you. Thank you very much once more for your presentation. A dámy a pánové, vy, kteří jste se teď těšili na 3. přednášku, vás bohužel musím zklamat, protože bude až po přestávce. Ale nebojte se, po přestávce skutečně bude. Přestávka bude trvat 25 minut. Přesně v půl se tady sejdeme a těšíme se na další program. A my jsme protáhli tu přestávku i proto, že jsme nechtěli, aby se na tu příští přednášku, abychom začínali s polovinou lidí, to by nebylo zdvořilé. Zvlášť proto, že ta další přednáška je partnerská. Jak všichni tušíte, takhle velkou akci se vším, co jí provází, by nebylo možné dělat bez dobrých přátel. Tady za mnou na plátně běží loga těch dobrých přátel, kteří nám pomáhají s tím, aby ta konference mohla být, a konec konců nepomáhají jenom nám, aby konference mohla být. Oni všichni nějakým způsobem s knihovnami souvisí a pomáhají knihovnám, aby mohli dobře dělat svoji práci. A tradičně už hlavním partnerem konference je Kosmotron Slovakia and Bohemia, společnost, kterou tady zpravidla reprezentuje její CEO Naďa Andrejčíková, která vždycky přichází nikoliv jaksi s firemní přednáškou klasickou, ale vždycky je to vlastně odborný vhled vysokoškolského učitele, vizionáře a tak dále. Naďa s námi dneska tady není, bohužel. Na druhou stranu Kosmotron tady dneska je s námi a já teď poprosím jeho reprezentanta, pana Lubomíra Orsága, aby proslovil svůj partnerský pozdrav a samozřejmě zároveň také odborný příspěvek. Je to vaše, pane kolego.
Ďakujem a pekný deň všetkým. Hneď na úvod, ešte predtým, než začnem, chcel by som vám vysloviť uznanie. Vám všetkým, ktorí tu sedíte. Úprimné uznanie za to, za vašu prácu a snahu pri riešení otázky postavenia knihovny ve spoločnosti. Uvedomujem si, že je to úloha neľahká, obzvlášť v dnešnej dobe, kedy rôzne vonkajšie vplyvy sa snažia spoločnosť skôr degenerovať. A namiesto príležitosti na sebevzdelávanie, kvalitné sebevzdelávanie, ktoré knižnice určite môžu poskytnúť, sa snažia tlačiť obsah a aktivity, ktoré sú prospešné pre ony negatívne externé vplyvy. Ale nechcem byť negatívny a naopak chcem vás povzbudiť k vytrvalosti, pretože každý krok sa počíta. Pre uľahčenie, vybral som jeden citát. Zistil som, že deň je dobre začať citátom, alebo občas je to výborná vzpruha, lepšia než kafe. Pokud máte záhradu a knihovnu, máte vše, co potrebujete. Nádherný citát. Ako ide deň, ako postupuje čas ďalej a vy si každý deň užívate s nejakým citátom, zrazu narazíte, ráj jsem si vždy predstavoval ako knihu, nikoli ako záhradu. Úplne inakší pohľad na svet. Týchto dvoch pánov, pána Cicera a pána Jorge Luisa Borgesa, delí asi 2000 rokov. Asi sa za túto dobu niečo zmenilo. Asi záhrady niekde degradovali. Čo sa zmenilo u nás, v našej spoločnosti a čo sa týka produktu ARL, Advanced Rapid Library. Slávime výročie s partnerom. Online databázu Fondu tradičnej ľudovej kultúry na Slovensku slávi už 5. rok. Fond tradičnej ľudovej kultúry na Slovensku v online databáze dostupnej na adrese hore uvedenej ponúka viac ako 9000 objektov zachytávajúcich tance, spevy, odevy, stavby či predmety každodennej potreby. Vznikol za spolupráci Slovenského ľudového umeleckého kolektívu, skratke SLUK, asi poznáte, a jeho Centra pre tradičnú ľudovú kultúru. Pani Andrejčíková túto našu prezentáciu veľmi rada ukazuje, pretože je to... Pozrieme sa na to spolu. Jedná sa o digitálne objekty k tradičnej ľudovej kultúre. Takže máme tam popisné dáta, previazanie na autority a samotné digitálne objekty, ktoré môžu byť v tvare fotografií, v podobe fotografií, prípadne panoramatických fotografií. Máme 360-stupňové panoramatické fotografie, kedy obrázky stačí takto posunúť a oni sa ako otáčajú pred vami. A Fond tradičnej ľudovej kultúry poskytuje tieto materiály pre nekomerčné použitie aj na stiahnutie obrázky. Ďalej. Prvá samoobslužná knihovna. V Praze otvorili prvú samoobslužnú knihovnu a skončili niekoľkoročný projekt zavádzania AirFit technológie. Nová pobočka Mestskej knihovny v Praze, ktorá v rámci tohto projektu vznikla, dostala názov Kiosek. A naša spoločnosť tým završila niekoľkoročný projekt zavádzania AirFit technológie do Mestskej knihovny v Praze, na ktorom sme sa aktívne od začiatku podieľali dodávkami a inštaláciami zariadení s technológiami AirFit, od etikiet, pracovných staníc, bezpečnostných brán a self-checkov až po inštalácie návratových a triediacich automatov. Čitatelia tak získali nielen kvalitnejšie výpožičné služby, ale vďaka predĺženia otváracej doby niektorých pobočiek môžu dlhšie využívať služby knihovny. Teší nás, že sme mohli byť súčasťou tohto významného projektu. Niečo pre oko. Tak to vypadá. Určite o tom budete ešte počuť, alebo je to nádherný projekt, ktorý bol verejne, ktorý pozná verejnosť, široká verejnosť. Každá udalosť si zaslúži zaznamenať. Kozmotron, ARL, modul ARL, ktorý sa o zaznamenávanie udalostí stará, nazvali sme ho Digitálna kronika, a umožňuje evidenciu, uchovanie a sprostredkovanie záznamov udalostí, vrátane všetkých naväzujúcich entít, autorít, katalógových záznamov a ich digitálnych objektov. Záznamy sú sprístupnené pomocou opaku i webových stránok knihovny, takže webových stránok akejkoľvek organizácie. Okrem archivačnej funkcie plní i funkciu plánovania udalostí alebo prezentovania nadchádzajúcich udalostí. Toto je konkrétne stránka Mestskej knižnice Piešťany, ktorá není to knihovnícky web, toto je web knižničný, iný web, kde sa snažia prezentovať udalosti a následne ich dokumentujú treba s digitálnymi objektami, fotografiami, prevezujú autorov, ktorí sa podieľajú na udalostiach, taktiež katalógové záznamy, ak súvisia s nejakou knihou dané udalosti. Digitálna kronika taktiež slúži obciam a tunaka by som zdôraznil, že Kozmotron, toto je digitálna kronika obce Holasovice. Je to malá obec na Opavsku a Kozmotron nerobí rozdiel medzi malými a veľkými. Medzi malými knižnicami, veľkými knižnicami, malými mestami, veľkými mestami. Ak je projekt zaujímavý, tak sme otvorení. Konkrétne obec Holasovice malo požiadavku vytvoriť digitálnu kroniku, kde by zaznamenávali všetky kultúrne udalosti, ale aj iné, školské, športové. A toto je výpis katalógu udalostí a zaznamenávajú napríklad i počasie. Pani kronikárka sedí a zapisuje minimálnu, maximálnu teplotu a stav počasia ten deň. Je to taktiež katalógový záznam. Nová Bandaska. Bandaska je vlastne Z3950 server, upravený pre potreby Národnej knihovny. Umožňuje spoluprácu na budovaní báze národných autorít, návrhy nových autorít, opravy existujúcich a slúži pre užívateľov z iných knihovných informačných systémov ako Alef. Bandaska je už existujúci projekt, existuje už dlhé roky. Tento rok došlo k jej modernizácii, zmene architektúry. Bandaska dostala nové aktualizácie zdrojových kódov, pribudli nové, modernejšie technológie a hlavne sa stala nezávislou na operačnom systéme, ktorú ju staršiu verziu zväzovalo. Bola závislá na operačnom systéme Windows a zmenu architektúry sa tomuto už obchádza. Pričom aplikačná logika zostáva zachovaná. Takže kto používate Bandasku, tak aplikačná logika zostáva zachovaná. Ďalšou novinkou v našej spoločnosti je spolupráca Kozmotron a EBSCO Information Services. Nadviazali v tomto roku spoluprácu s cieľom zaistiť knihovnám pomoc pri zavádzaní platformy správu knihovných informačných služieb Folio. Kto nepozná Folio, alebo trochu predstavím Folio, jedná sa o novú generáciu open source knihovníckej platformy. Z toho je ten akronym Future of Libraries is Open. Je open source projekt pod hlavičkou Open Library Foundation s podporou spoločnosti EBSCO, Index Data a ďalších partnerov z celého sveta. Tento informačný systém sa môže pochváliť svojimi vlastnosťami, ako sú multitenant, cloud ready. Multitenant znamená, že máte na jednej inštalácii, môžete na jednej inštalácii informačného systému prevádzkovať viaceré knižnice. Že jedna inštalácia, viac knižníc. Cloud ready, ono je to cloud friendly, je Folio určené hlavne pre cloudové prostredie a je možné hostovať komerčne i lokálne. Jedná sa o modulárnu architektúru, to predstavím za chvíľku. Modulárna architektúra mikroslúžieb, vlastne opakom sú napríklad monolitické systémy, kde jednotlivé moduly a funkcionality bežia v jednom prostredí, A funkcionalita vychádza z návrhu knihovníkov z akademických knižníc. Takže informačný systém Folio sa začal tvoriť v akademickom prostredí hlavne amerických knižníc, amerických univerzitných knižníc, malých i veľkých. Tu sú logá niektorých z nich. Nájdete tam napríklad TAM, Texas A&M University, ktorá je jedna z 10 najväčších v Amerike. Ale sú tu i ďalšie združenia i samostatné knižnice. Najbližšie nám je napríklad združenie GBV nemecké alebo ZBV. V Nemecku není jediná národná knižnica. Nemecko sa rozdeľuje na 7 alebo 8 spolkov, združení. A združenie práve GBV je najväčšie z nich a používajú už aktívne systém Folio pre ich knihovné služby. Je to asi 12-13 dní, asi 2-3 týždne, čo sa konala konferencia na téma poriadaná Open Library Foundation, ktorej najväčším produktom je práve Folio, ale mimo inými i známy Viewfind v našom prostredí a ďalšie menej známe projekty, kde práve ako my tu teraz sedíme, takom 3 dní to taktiež trvalo, diskutovali na téma, riešili ich knihovnické problémy spojené s informačným systémom Folio. Folio používa architektúru mikroslužieb. To znamená, že knihovny môžu spolupracovať s rôznymi dodávateľmi a skupinami, ktoré vyvíjajú vlastné moduly. Folio sa skladá z hromady modulov. Predstavte si to tak, že je tam modul pre katalogizáciu, máte modul pre inventarizáciu, modul pre výpožičky, pre užívateľov. A jednotlivé rozhrania týchto modulov sú open, takže viete ich využiť aj pre externé systémy, pre vaše externé potreby, treba zavádzanie čitateľov, univerzitných študentov do vášho informačného systému, kde to ten informačný systém nepotrebuje sa dostať až niekde k prístupu, databázovému prístupu uzatvorenému v rámci toho informačného systému, ale volá niektorý z modulov, ktoré sú dokumentované napríklad pomocou RAML. RAML je univerzálny jazyk pre popis API, volaní API. A Folio, keď nejaký zákazník alebo knižnica potrebuje Folio modul pre svoje vlastné potreby, nejaký, nikto iný nepoužíva, samozrejme možné použiť moduly tým, že je to open source i z regiónov z iného sveta, ak také moduly používajú. Ale Folio modul je možné doprogramovať aj v rámci iných dodávateľov skupín. API je otvorené. Toto je pohľad na rozhranie Folia, administrátorské rozhranie, knihovnícke rozhranie. Iný screenshot, kde už je... Tento pohľad môže byť trochu matúci, ale pri práci s Foliom, keď sa vám... Viete, kde klikáte. Tie prvky sa vám zobrazujú pred vami. Na screenshote to není tak dobre vidieť. Pre záujemcov, ktorí by si aj hneď teraz chceli vyskúšať alebo nazrieť, čo to znamená ten pohľad knihovnícky do informačného systému, tak môžete využiť túto adresu s týmito prihlasovacími údajmi. Je to vlastne verejné, není to nič tajné. A môžete si vyskúšať, ako sa v tom kliká. O čom to je. Ďalej. Spoločnosť Kozmotron na poli výskumu a vývoja sa zapojila spoločne s Moravskou zemskou knihovnou v Brne do projektu ASARP, čo je akroným skratka Automatizovaný systém analytického rozpisu periodík, ktorého cieľom sú automatická extrakcia článkov periodík, vytvorenie nových uzlov do systému Cramerius, obohatenie metadát článkov o kľúčové slová a metódy konspektu, použitie strojového učenia. V pozdejších fázach tento projekt má v pláne aj použitie strojového učenia, ktoré je v súčasnosti hojne využívané, alebo snažia sa celá spoločnosť sa ho snaží využívať. Je tento potenciál, ktorý ešte vidí sa v tom veľký potenciál. Toto je ukážka článku alebo skenov dvoch stránok periodika, kedy výstupom Krameria alebo softvéru na analýzu textu je i formát Alto, ktorý označí bloky textu. Cieľom projektu ASARP je rozpoznať tieto bloky, rozpoznať vlastne titulok, samotný text, pospojovať tieto bloky k sebe a treba vyhodiť stade reklamu, ako je tu ukázané. Taktiež máme internet ciele, ktorými sú prechod, to je jeden z tých malých krokov, ktoré každý má svoje malé kroky, i my ich máme, ale spojení viacerých malých krokov vzniká ten efekt napredovania. Chceli by sme prejsť, alebo už sme prešli z dátovej platformy na novú generáciu Iris a je to nástupca súčasnej platformy, ktorú používame, Cache. Chceme postupne prechádzať na Git repozitáre a s tým spojené nasadzovanie aplikácií smerom ku Continuous Integration a Continuous Deployment, čo je inými slovami využívanie, je to vývojový postup, akým nasadzovať zmeny progresívnejšie priamo zákazníkom. A samozrejme používať nové nástroje, akými sú OpenAPI, Swagger, Node.js, Mongo, Svelte, Docker a cloudové služby. Takže to je za mňa všetko. Verím, že som skills celkom vyrovnal. V prípade záujmov nájdete ma na stánku Kozmotronu. Keby ste mali nejaké otázky, treba z tomu fóliu, tak rád vám odpoviem. Ďakujem za pozornosť.
Děkujem pěkně. Děkuji i za to stažení toho skluzu, za pro mě informačně velmi zajímavou přednášku. Já už jsem tady říkal, že Naďu Andrejčíkovou považuji za velkého vizionáře a když Kosmotron o něčem začne mluvit, co se ve světě děje, tak dávám pozor, protože je to většinou důležité. Takže díky i za upozornění na tyhle ty věci a čeká nás další prezentace. Je to už řada let, co sem zveme zahraniční hosty, většinou z Evropy, protože to tak máme jako nejblíž, ale pak před několika lety jsme se odvázali a měli jsme tady hosty z Ameriky. Tak dneska poprvé sáhneme na další kontinent. Máme tady hosta, který přiletěl z Asie, byť z té blízké Asie, ze Středního východu. A dalším prezentujícím, který nám bude povídat, je Mohamed Bufars, který jako knihovník přichází ze Spojených arabských emirátů, což je země asi pro mnohé z nás poměrně exotická a ne příliš známá. Možná bychom nečekali, že tam se dějí zajímavé knihovnické věci, které jsme zvyklí si spíš třeba spojovat se Skandinávií, ale Mohamed Bufars je tady mimo jiné proto, že mluvil na konferenci národních knihoven a tam byl mimo jiné Tomáš Foltín jako generální ředitel Národní knihovny a asi týden po té konferenci, nebo ani ne, možná jsme se potkali na nějaké recepci. On říká, hele, tohohle chlapa musíme pozvat. Fakt, jo. Tak je tady. Yours is the floor. Yeah. And we will learn what the House of Wisdom is about, how it's different from libraries we know, and what's common, and what direction they head to. Not yet. Not yet. But okay, we will hope that it's going to be fair.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for allowing me to bring the voice of the exotic places that you mentioned, because actually it's a very important concept that you used, voices of the South, or those people that fall neither on the South or in the North, like the Middle East or UAE. Their voices are rarely heard in some conferences. So thank you very much for the opportunity, but I would like to encourage you actually to interact at the end, because I intend to take more back home than I brought with me. Yeah, so it's a learning experience for me as well. So today, my speech is going to be about libraries as family destinations. Because actually, when I received the invitation to this conference, I had ambivalent feelings, whether to accept or not, whether the subject is really interesting, what to do. Because the pandemic has shattered everyone, and specifically libraries. Just a month back, I was in a round table where specifically academic libraries were complaining that the users don't want to come back. And this is really a big problem, because how do we bring the users back into our libraries? The key word is libraries have always survived because of communities, because of being houses for everyone and welcoming their societies. I always call a library a no man's land, because everyone is welcome. And my presentation today is going back to the basics of, do we really care about the society? How do we approach our service, and how do we approach our libraries in a way that would put the community back at the center? Of course, the pandemic was not the first crisis that we faced. The pandemic proved that libraries and librarians are resilient. They managed to survive, and they managed to get their libraries back open. But let's remember the old days when the resources were limited. That's, I think, a crisis much worse than the crisis we have now, where books were chained to shelves because access was limited to books. But libraries still managed to provide those resources. When the Google Books started projects, a lot of people started panicking, saying this is the end of libraries. But we managed to survive that as well. And of course, the social media, the distractions, and all those things were some kind of pandemic, but we managed to survive them. And all this proves one thing, is if we keep the communities, if we keep the family as our main customer, and we design our services for them, we will always survive. So we are sort of a phoenix. We always re-emerge either way, yeah, because of concentrating. And here, actually, there is a very important thing to put the things in context, is that libraries have changed. The perspective, the paradigm has shifted in libraries. I remember when I started back in librarianship, the main focus and the main word was collections. And every library was competing. Who will get to the first 1 million volumes? Yeah? And I had actually a story where one CEO of one of the research centers in the UAE, where I come from, was firing the whole staff of the library nearly every 2 years because they couldn't get to 2 million volumes. So that's interesting. So that was done, but now there is a shift to access. And I prefer the word connection. And why do I use the word connection? Because it's about connecting people and connecting people to information. So the libraries are all about their communities and about bringing everyone together. It's also about diversity and inclusivity. Then there is another concept, which is the old days. The job of libraries and librarians was mainly gatekeeping role, where the library is seen as a storage for books, and the role of the librarian is to organize those books and to ensure the safekeeping of the collection. But what happened later is our role has changed into gate opening. And when I say gate opening, for example, I can talk about open access. Libraries are opening access to information in so many ways, not only by building infrastructure for open access to resources, but also the act of training researchers on how to publish open access is a very important concept in terms of opening the gates. Of course, gate opening also applies to training. A lot of role that the libraries today are doing is train the different categories of their users, whether it's children, adults, researchers, on different things or different areas, not only in terms of information literacy, but also in some of the new technologies that emerge, and also in a lot of programming that we see in the public libraries specifically. There is a lot of community outreach also as part of the gate opening strategy. I see a lot of, in a lot of Scandinavian countries, the municipalities actually are using the libraries as a service provider, where there is a municipality, one office, I don't know what the concept is, one stop gate, I would say, yeah. And of course, one thing that I will also touch on later is the social development goals. So, even when we talk about libraries of the future, and this is a very good roadmap, I think that was designed by ERUP Libraries University, and I don't know if it's clear to everyone, you can read, but if you see the 3 or 4 pillars on which this is based, of course there is technology, there is a lot of things, but if you read those pillars, they are all referring to the community and society. So if you say, for example, hubs for community well-being, community is at the heart of that. Seamless learning experiences. Learning does not happen without people. We have participatory knowledge preservation. Again, when we say participatory, it means there is people involved in that. And finally, enabling collaboration and decision-making. Collaboration cannot happen again without the engagement of the community and society. But I'm going to be a little bit narcissistic, if you allow me, and moving forward, I will be using some examples from my own library to stress some of the points that I will be talking about. So for me, I think these are the principles of society-oriented premises or libraries. So the first one is libraries of the future philosophy. And when we talk about libraries of the future, one main concept is libraries becoming the living room of the community. And this is a very, very important keyword. I can go on and on about this. And I always like to use the example of when you come at the end of a workday, stressful workday, to your house, you go into your living room, you will find the whole family in there. Someone is on the phone, someone is on an iPad, someone is watching TV, someone is reading a book, someone is listening to music, someone is chatting with someone else. What is your feeling when you come in and you see that? Does anyone Have an idea? Huh? What is your feeling? You are happy. Because what matters is everybody is learning something in their own way, and what also matters is that they are together. And traditionally, I remember in the traditional libraries, whenever someone is on the phone, the librarian comes in shouting, "Why? This is a library. It's either you read a book or you get out," as Barbara mentioned in her presentation. Libraries are no longer about that. We have to be the living room of the community if we want to get them back, if we want the users to come back frequently. Second, user-centered approach to service. We know that traditionally, there is a lot of focus on staff. Even in our processes and operations, it's about making the work of staff easier and making it comfortable. It's about time we start thinking about putting the users at the center of our service. And I would like to put in a plug for my presentation tomorrow, or my workshop tomorrow. It's very relevant to this point. I would advise you to come. Equity and fairness. Equity and fairness because society is diverse. We don't choose who comes into our libraries and who doesn't. So we have to apply equity and fairness in our libraries, and I will be elaborating on that later. Responsible organizations, this is where the sustainability development goals come in. Of course, we have to give back to our communities. We have to prove that we are on the same page in terms of being a responsible organization. Of course, a lot of these things wouldn't happen without technology. And when I mention technology, it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be over the top. We have to think and build new ways of innovating within the resources that we have. And again, my workshop tomorrow will touch a little bit on this and how, for example, we can use design thinking to improve some of the processes or solve some of the problems that we have without necessarily having to invest heavily. Of course, one key element is a strong network of partners. If you think that you have your own budget and that you can achieve miracles, you have to think again. You have to partner, and you have to partner right. And when you partner, you have to harness the power of those partners. You can partner with technology entities, you can partner with municipalities or even hospitals, even different schools, colleges, etc., etc. And I will be using some examples from my work. Professional manpower. Of course, when you design very nice buildings, you have done everything right without the right personnel, with the right attitude, everything will collapse. Nothing will work. And actually, I have an example of a library, magnificent library that just opened in the UAE, but if you go to Google reviews, horrible, horrible. And I know the secret. The secret is that the management decided not to hire professionals. They thought that they will outsource complex operations, but the rest, they will just hire nice-looking people, etc. But it doesn't work like that. The user is not stupid. The user is smart. They will know. And of course, in designing our facilities, we have to design very flexible learning environment. And the key word here, which I will mention later in detail, is after COVID, there is a lot of apprehension, there is a lot of fear, there is a lot of hesitation. So we have to design our spaces to use the concept that I like the most, is together alone. Together alone is a very good concept that we can use. We can mitigate the fear of the people, but at the same time, remember, that people got really bored by being under lockdown for so many months, so they wanted that social interaction. And finally, the most traditional get-together was always around food. So make your libraries welcoming. And how do they feel that they are in their own sitting room? Food should be present. And we see a lot of new generation prefers to go and sit in Starbucks than go into a library. A Starbucks will never become a library, but a library can emulate some of the things Starbucks does. So, within the Libraries of the Future concept, of course, you have to use a lot of smart technology because this new generation is technology savvy. Even the eldest generation are now into the technology. They are into apps, they are into a lot of things. Age-focused zoning, like I will give examples from our library. The living room approach, which I mentioned, and we have, for example, different meeting rooms so that people don't have to go outside or to go to alternative places. Leniency with food and beverages. Like one thing that we did for probably different from most of the libraries, in every table we put a QR code linking to our restaurants and cafeteria, so you can order your own drinks and snacks and they will come to your table. Yeah? Instead of banning people from bringing coffee, no. We are giving you the option of ordering your coffee from the table. And we do encourage interaction. We don't shush. We actually, if anyone shushes anyone else, we ask them to leave or to take one of the rooms which is totally noise isolated. Because libraries, if they want to survive, they have to see what the community is doing, which is, it's a space. If I want my alone time, I will stay at home. Or I will get into a secluded space. But I am here because I want to hear people, to listen to people, and to discuss with others. And the alone together sitting that I mentioned, of course, before. And also, one important element, that the seamless on-site and digital user experience. We have seen some libraries who have amazing technological infrastructure, but when you go on the ground, there is a disconnect between the physical and the digital. It's very important that you think how the seamless experience can be combined between the two. Of course, the user-centered services approach, we should target all ages and genders. And in that, I will give you an example which is really interesting from our library. Cater for all learning styles. So there are people who like to discover things by reading, by going to the shelves. But as Barbara mentioned, there are people who don't like to read. And we as a library, our role is to provide opportunities for learning. And it's their choice to choose the right method and the right way they want to learn. So the second, there are people who like to create music, maker spaces, 3D printing. There are people who are creative. They want to create things, harness them, bring them in. And then there are people who just like to participate. So, for example, you can hold exhibitions in your spaces, you can have concerts, you can have theater, you can have all those things that would encourage the community or part of the community who don't like the traditional library to come in. And I always like in some places where, for example, the hip-hop generation, you don't expect those people to come to a library. It's boring. They don't like it. But if you have a recording studio with an audiovisual technician to support them, aha, yes, I have access to equipment, I have access to the tools, I can come in and produce my songs. Then the library will do its magic. They will see a book about hip-hop. the instructor or the technician will ask them, oh, if you want really to mix very well songs and to become a master, you have to read that book, or we have a workshop next month. You have to attend it, etc. This is what I call the library will do its own magic. So, and we have to cover different interests, of course. Within the capacity of your building, it depends how big your building is, but you will always have to make the community feel that their interests are observed in terms of resource types, in terms of reading media, in terms of art and technology, for example. And this is the space which I mentioned before when we are talking about gender. This headquarters here in the House of Wisdom is, I think, unique. Because women in our society are very conservative. And during the planning stage, we asked the community, where do you like to read? The majority of women answered they like to read in bed. Yeah? So, with a little inspiration from the Japanese culture, we built, as you see here in the back, those here are actually beds with cushions and everything. And you know, in a conservative society, they can actually come in, remove their sheilas, their head cover, relax, read a book. They can have a meeting. There is a meeting table in the middle for women if they want really to be with their friends and discuss things. And also these little meeting rooms here, cubicles, yeah? And they can order their drinks, their coffee, etc. So this is, of course, an example, an extreme example, but it just shows that this is one of the most successful areas in our library. The service philosophy, of course, you have to continuously revamp the service approach. One thing that I always personally favor is that service mentality has to be integrated at all levels of the organization. Even when the House of Wisdom decided that there is a customer service department who will take care of that, we still make sure from the lowest job in the organization to the highest, customer service is fully integrated. And we have been receiving a lot of compliments about that because we treat everyone like they are royalty. Of course, promote self-service and automated processes. That's if you have the budget and the know-how and sometimes the innovative approach to doing things. This just limits some of the friction that can happen between staff and the customers. Enhance user digital experience. For the millennials, we would like them to be able to do everything instantly, online, on their apps, or on their mobile, without having to be frustrated. And actually, the workshop tomorrow, one component of the workshop is our persona analysis. You have to analyze the personas of all your users. Because without that in-depth understanding, it's all anecdotal evidence. You think, oh, our users are probably this way, or they think this, or they behave like that. No, you have to scientifically study them so that you go in depth and understand what they need. Promote personalized service on and offline. That's also something that we have been doing. Optimize staff time to focus on professional services. So automation enabled us to have actually the librarians, when you go around the library, they are there, but they are not as much visible as you would see in the traditional library. Because they will be roving, they will be supporting the users, they will be on hand, yeah? But not necessarily sitting at a counter where you approach them, or if they are intimidating, you don't approach them. And this is a big problem also in libraries. The approachability of staff is a big problem. Please let me know if I am going over time. Yeah. So when we're talking about equity and fairness, and that's a picture actually from our library, one of the areas in our library. When we are talking about equity and fairness, we are talking about facilities and spaces for all, regardless of their age, regardless of their ethnicity. Resources sourced with community in mind. You always have to interact with your users, talk to them, see what they need, and also the persona analysis will help with that. Inclusive. Inclusivity is a very big word nowadays. Everybody wants their share of the library. You have to try as much as you can. Like in our library, we have a few Braille books, large print books, and also with the UAE having more than 200 nationalities, we have been trying to build some of the community languages, like Indian, French, Spanish, etc., etc. We will not be able to build languages for everyone, but you always try. No age or ethnicity restrictions. The library is open to everyone. And the most important one for me personally, because that's what I can control, is representativeness in staff. Make sure your staff has representatives from the different communities that you serve. Yeah, like we have in my staff, there is people from India, there is people from Jordan, from UK, from Morocco, from all over the communities that we are serving, Filipino, etc., because those are the people that we serve. Of course, technology plays a big role in the libraries being a destination for the community and families, and I call it outward-looking technologies, because there are a lot of technologies that you have which again serves the purpose of librarians, but not necessarily of the users. So, as I mentioned before, you have to automate as much as possible. Like, for example, registration, membership, reservations, loans, and returns. This is all fully automated. Like, for example, one thing that I can talk about here is reservation. I have seen in a lot of libraries in the world that reservation is semi-automatic, where the user reserves a book online, but there is, I see, for example, circulation desk staff in some libraries, their time, 90% of their time is consumed by reserves, because they have to pull every book out of the shelf, put it on the reserve shelves, and wait for the user, and most of the time they don't show up. So they have to reshelve it. What we have done in House of Wisdom is we have automated this. The book does not come from the shelf. You reserve it online, it stays where it is. If someone takes it, they cannot borrow it. The system will automatically tell them, sorry, this book cannot be borrowed, it's reserved by someone else. And this saved us a lot of time. Yeah? We have a fabrication lab, which again is educational, and it's a very small fab lab, but we managed to attract some families because of that. They have a kid who likes gaming, who likes 3D printing, who likes art, so the family on the weekend would bring the kid, the mother will grab a book or something else, or a coffee or dinner or lunch, and this is how it becomes a family destination. We use a lot of artificial intelligence and IoT in our library to enhance the user experience. And of course, there is a lot of plans in the future to use more of this. Like, for example, we are intending to borrow some of the concepts from retail, like the Amazon Go, if you are familiar with it, where you just put the items on a trolley and you just go, because the whole system knows you. Then it checks out the material to your credit card. We're trying to borrow that concept and utilize it in the library, because there is face recognition in the cameras, there is smart gates which read all the books that pass under it. So we are trying to innovate some solution where actually the building already knows its members. We say it's a smart building that knows its members. Of course, in Europe, this is very hard to do because for safety and security reasons, but we do have face recognition in our building. One thing that we do also is zoning. In the actual building, we don't have to shush anyone. We don't have any signs in the building banning, for example, telephones or asking people to be quiet or no food. That's something that is out of question because we have used zoning where the noisy activities are on one side of the building, then there is a middle separation sort of, and then there is the serious study areas on the other side. So it's natural isolation. And of course, a lot of technology can be explored, including, for example, one of the facilities that we have is the print on demand, which is the Espresso book machine. Usually this is technology that is available in research universities, but we thought of bringing it to the community so that those who like to create can do self-publishing. They can come to us with a PDF of their own memoirs or book or etc. They can publish it here, as well as print books on demand. So this is just one example of some of the technology set up. The kiosk that you see on the right is the first prototype, for those who were in my workshop, of something that we are working on. So, and of course, this is already going to improve with the new type. The idea of this kiosk is to create a one-stop station where people can browse the whole catalog, they can borrow, and they can return books in one interface. Very beautifully designed, not only as hardware, but software. We have the existing platform that we have has a web app. We are not using the OPAC, we are not using the traditional library system. We are using it only as a database. But we build a web app which looks like Amazon Books, nice, looks like Netflix. The new generation love it. Of course, for the laptops, sorry, yeah. For the laptops, users have the self-service for laptops and devices in our library. That's the Espresso book machine. That is a picture of our fabrication lab with 3D printing and so on. And in terms of seamless experience from digital to physical, actually in our application and website, we built, which I mentioned in the beginning, that the building is smart, the building knows you. So when you register, you can choose your preference in terms of lighting, in terms of temperature, and when you borrow one of the study rooms, the actual room will adjust to your preference because it knows you. Yeah? And of course, you can do a lot of things online. You can borrow. In terms of borrowing books, we give people all the options possible. They can borrow using the self-service station, but also they can use the barcode, scan barcode of the book, or use the NFC. For those who don't know, NFC is it's like the contactless payment, where you can put the phone on the tag, and it will automatically read the tag, and you can borrow the book. Yeah, and partnering right. You have to partner right because you cannot do this challenge alone. You have to partner. So government entities, like with cultural and art programs, program sponsorships, like when we have very expensive program or exhibition that we want to run, we bring it from South America or something, we look for a government entity who would be willing to sponsor this event. Embassies and cultural attaches, we have done a lot of collaboration with them to enrich our collection because they are the master experts in their own countries and language, but also to host some of their programs. Young entrepreneurs, like for example, we have a small store where a lot of young entrepreneurs can come and sell their own products, and also with private entities. These are a few pictures of some of the programs that we run for children, for adults, reading sessions, book signatures, music, theater, yoga, flower arrangements, robotics, you name it. And some of them are participations out of the actual building. And a responsible organization, one of the elements that I mentioned is that sustainability, when we do our programming, we have a lot of programs that are related to sustainability, recycling, and environment days. We celebrate them all. And of course, our building is a smart building built by Foster and Partners. It has a lot of elements that are environmentally friendly. We don't have any copiers. We don't have any copiers in our building. It's either you borrow a book or you stay and read it. So natural light, it's all like a glass cube. So it's all natural light during the day. No direct sunlight. One of the elements of the building is the floating roof, which extends about 12 meters outside of the actual building. So the sun actually never hits the books or the inside. We use a lot of bamboo instead of wood in some of the elements. Native and adapted plants. There is in the actual building what we call night purge, where the hot air is purged out and the fresh air comes in, etc. Grey water recycling. We have electrical car chargers in all outside the building as well as in the underground parking, and it's totally free for anyone. And irrigation reduction. Of course, these are some of the natural local plants, but we have also a plan B in the future in case things go bad, which is a deserty oasis mood. We can always go back and say, okay, enough with the plants, enough with the grass, go back to how it will look. It will look like a desert with a few elements of greenery. This is some visuals of the building, sun shading. This is the roof that I mentioned about. And of course, these are the sustainability development goals that we have identified as part of the full cycle in the library. And of professional manpower, I already touched on that. I think I'm over time, isn't it? Sorry. But if I am boring, please let me know. So, and there is a lot of plans for the future. Like we are planning music studios for hipsters. We are actually got a new plot of land which we will build as an extension. So video studios, YouTubers and influencers can use them, art studios, and we call it the Artist's Lounge, which will include all top forms of art, and a library of things as well. And of course, food. Food. One thing that we discovered is a lot of segments of the community that we never think about coming to the library, they come because of the food. So we have a variety of food and beverage. One of them is a high-end restaurant, not for everyone. It's very expensive. Even for me, it's expensive. But it attracted a category of users who would never come. Ministers, higher officials, embassies would have, for example, dinners or lunches there. People who have money, and they never think about coming to a library. But they come because we partnered with a very famous chef who just won a Michelin award. So a lot of those people, they come. And we see them frequently coming, and they enjoy the books as well. We have a specialty coffee. It's a big thing now in the UAE. And a lot of people come from far just for that coffee. Yeah? And the interesting thing about this coffee shop is it was actually established by a famous artist who partnered with Nike to produce some shoes, very well-designed shoes. So young people, they hear about it and they come. And what we did, all the space of the coffee shop, it has all the books that are relevant for that generation. It has comics, it has the graphic novels, it has etc. And it has magazines and so on. So there is always interaction between whatever we do in the library and the actual mission of promoting reading. In the winter, during the nice weather, we partner with a very famous, like this winter, we partnered with a very famous restaurant, and they created pop-up burger joints in the garden outside. And it stayed open until, I think, 1 or 2 a.m., and it attracted a new type of crowd. Yeah. And on that, actually, our library hours are quite unique. We are open every day. Whether it's weekend, whether it's a holiday, we never close. Only if the ruler is coming to inaugurate something, we'll close for that period, and that's it. We never closed since we opened. We are open from 7 until midnight. And we had a plan to open 24 hours. But we tried opening, we opened until 2 a.m. For 1 month. The numbers were not encouraging after midnight. So we decided to keep it at midnight. And we do have, outside the building, we do have food truck style offering. This is, again, very popular. Everybody likes it. And so it attracted another crowd of people. Thank you very much. That's it. If you have any questions, thank you.
Wow. I'm really sorry that we are limited in time because there obviously is quite a lot to be spoken. Fortunately, we have possibility to meet you tomorrow as a workshop, and probably we have to invite you again pretty soon because, yeah, now I understand why Tomáš was so excited.
Yeah.
Máme čas jenom na jednu jedinou otázku, protože musíme pokročit dál, abychom dali zase příležitost dalším, ale ta jedna otázka už byla položena, je tady na slajdu. So, can you please answer?
Yes. This is a very important question because even our recruitment strategy is totally different from traditional librarianship. What we did at House of Wisdom, we are trying to harness again the power of different people. So we have the library part, which is partly handled by the librarians, as well as some outsourcing. But for example, programming, we have specialists. Like for children's programs, we have an early child development specialist with a team of people who are specialized in supporting children. And we do have a team for programming for adults. Again, one of the team members is a poet. He's an actual poet, polyglot. She writes poetry in different languages. Her name is Farah Shamma. She is part of the team. And also the head of programming is not a librarian, but someone who has focused a lot during her career on programming. She was part of the team who worked on the agenda for World Book Capital. So to get the title of World Book Capital, you have to have a solid programming experience and a solid full year programs that promote reading and books, etc. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. And I will actually add one very short question. Yes. What percentage of your budget is covered by public resources and what percentage is covered by your own income?
Okay. That's a very difficult question. Yeah. Actually, we opened only less than 2 years now. We haven't been making a lot of money yet. Most of our money comes from the government of Sharjah. But we do make a little bit of money because the cafe, restaurants makes money, the food truck outlets make money, the burger joint that we rented makes money, and we do also charge for membership, but that's more like an insurance, not something that you would make money with. Yeah, so. The answer is that most of our money comes from the government, as of now.
Thank you. Okay, thank you once more.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. There is a question here, can I answer it?
Ta další otázka, která je na slajdu, prosím položit ji zítra na workshopu.
Yeah.
The question will be tomorrow is a workshop.
Yes. Come to my workshop if you want the answer.
Děkuji. Thank you very much. Thank you. Tak a teď se přesuneme z horkého jihu na chladný sever. Sdružení knihoven má zvláštní partnerství s Norskou knihovnickou asociací, které nám umožnilo, abychom tady měli dneska velmi reprezentativní norskou delegaci, protože to platí norské fondy. A v čele téhle delegace a zároveň tím, kdo prosloví další přednášku, je Vidar Lund, který je prezidentem Norské knihovnické organizace. Jinak je to ale také ředitel jedné městské knihovně ve 20 000 městě, pokud si dobře pamatuji, ve středním Norsku. A jeho prezentace se jmenuje Veřejná knihovna jako demokratický prostor. Já jsem měl tu příležitost navštívit norské knihovny letos na jaře, včetně úplně nové Deichmann bibliotek v centru Osla, nová centrální knihovna. Pokud budete mít příležitost se tam podívat, to fakt stojí za to. Ale přiznám se, že vlastně úplně stejně mě nadchly malé knihovny, pobočky v Oslu nebo regionální knihovna, kterou jsem měli možnost vidět. O norském knihovnictví se zatím u nás mluvilo trochu méně, tak jenom říkám, než třeba ve srovnání s finským, tak říkám, hele, tohle fakt stojí také za vidění. Now I have a pleasure to give the floor to you and we are eager to listen to your presentation. Yours is the floor, Vidar.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me? The button. You turned off the button. Like now, yes. Thank you. Thank you so very much for the invitation. It's been a pleasure cooperating in this project with Zdruk. Both the webinars and your visit in Oslo in May was very interesting. Now I will try to shorten a little. We are having a banquet later, and I'm also having a workshop tomorrow. So I think we will shorten down a little. First of all, the Norwegian Library Association, your sister organization in Norway. We are both personal and institutional members. We have regional groups, special interest groups. We're sort of a small IFLA in Norway. And we have a secretariat, which are represented here today as well. We are 4 people here today. And these are our main goals from our principal program and action plan. So it's a very common library organization, and which is also covered in the IFLA goals. A little about the Norwegian libraries. We are a small country, around the half of the Czech Republic, and we have extremely big differences in the size of municipalities. The smallest one is less than 200 people, and the biggest one is 700,000, the capital, Oslo. And all are obliged to have a public library with a professional library director. That's a challenge in some places. And as you can see, these are the bare numbers. I will give you the presentation afterwards, so you can click on the link where you can see our Public Library Act, which is in English. So you can see it there, which says that all municipalities shall have a public library with a trained professional library director. So, democratic space. Well, we have had a democratic constitution since 1814. We had a small glitch after the Napoleonic Wars. There was a peace treaty where Norway was given from Denmark to Sweden. And in the meantime, some nobility, big men, had a referendum and chose a constitutional assembly just to make sure that the Norwegian voice was heard. And there we actually already in 1814 got the freedom of printing. That was the expression in the old constitution. And this freedom of printing remained quite stable through the centuries. So what's now the latest version of the constitution, which was revised to the 200th anniversary, is that there shall be freedom of expression, which is a more neutral, not connected to the paper, but to actually the freedom of expression. So this new, and also this new sentence in the end, the authorities of the state shall create conditions that facilitate open and enlightened public discourse. So that the government, the state, actually are obliged to make it possible not only to go on the street and talk for yourself, but to make rooms for this democratic discussion, to facilitate it. And for instance, the government is supporting NGOs, newspapers, public and private broadcasting, tax exemptions for books and periodicals, and of course, libraries. So all this is facilitating the open and enlightened public discourse because of the Constitution, or justified by the Constitution. So, the Public Libraries Act. The first one was in 1930, which established the state support to public libraries. And the last revision was in 2014, where there was a new vision, also based on the work with the new constitution. And especially the paragraph 1 was adjusted, the purpose of the law, with this new sentence. Public libraries are to be an independent meeting place and arena for public discussions and debates. So, but the government is not paying. It's the municipalities themselves that are paying. That's the system in Norway. So now there are 356 public library organizations. Each one have to define how to solve this new purpose, how to be an independent meeting place and arena for public discussions and debates. By all means, this is not a brand new activity. Libraries have always had meetings and arrangements, programs, alone or together with others. But this formal change and expansion of purpose did also give more focus on this specific part of the library activities. And this have had a huge impact on how the libraries have prioritized for the last years, both persons and economy. So in 2016, that's only 2 years after the law was enacted, the public libraries had 47,000 arrangements and 1.2 million visitors to these programs. In 2019, after a government action plan and support, there was 64,000 arrangements and 1.7 million visitors to these arrangements and programs. And of course, then there was COVID-19, as you all know. But still in 2021, where at least half of the year was influenced by the COVID, there were 35,000 arrangements with 720,000 visitors. So it was not all dead, but of course reduced. So I think we can skip that one and go to the sort of final slide, but also the longest talk. Because a democratic space, what is that? Democracy is, of course, the rule of the people, for the people, by the people. And the classic definition could be that the majority rules, and you have elections to find out who has the majority and the right to govern for the next 4 years. I think you have municipal, local elections soon here, and that's a sort of traditional definition of democracy. But as we know, But this kind of democracy can be very autocratic as well. If the people who are voting don't have the right information, the right to speak and discuss, or the right to live their own lives, the right to vote is just a sham. We have Russia as an example, I think we can clearly say. Maybe Hungary is going that way. That's up for debate, I think. How democratic is Hungary? And a democratic space is a space where an inhabitant becomes a citizen, where you may participate in a search for information, knowledge, and truth. Ragnar Audunson, which is now retired, but he's a professor emeritus at the Oslo Metropolitan University, says, "A public library is an institution, and the libraries a profession, librarians a profession, that based on organized collections of documents, digital as well as physical, initiate social processes within learning, sharing of knowledge, and culture dissemination. We have the collections, the buildings, the staff that makes it possible for the ordinary citizen to pursue knowledge and culture, and through those, democracy." So, how open can and should this arena be? The Norwegian Act says that the public library is for all. Sorry, that was not the plan. Give me a book on paper. Let me see here. That's typical. Let's see, I have it here. But we have two digital stuff. Yeah, the Norwegian Act says that the public library is for all. And as a guess, it is in the Czech Republic as well. All come here, old and young, men and women, immigrants and locals, straight and queer. We are open for all. However, the library isn't a speaker's corner as they have it in Hyde Park. It needs editing, I think. This has been a discussion in Norway the last years. You have the right to use the library for their open meetings, discussions, and so on. It is difficult to make rules that everyone should follow, but the Ombudsman for Public Services have stated that the library director have a freedom in choosing the program. But the libraries are publicly funded, so we should be more open than, let's say, a privately run newspaper, more accessible for the people. But we are not obliged to accept whatever comes from controversial groups. In my opinion, the library manager have a clear editorial role. We do it already when we choose what books to buy, what books to display on the shelves, what exhibitions to promote. We do this to promote knowledge and culture in our local community. And the same thing comes to meetings and debates. We have to analyze the local community and see what's important for the citizens. This must be done in dialogue with the people of the village, town, or city. So this is where the word independent comes in. The Norwegian law says the public library should be an independent meeting place. This may be confused with neutrality, a neutral place, and an idea that, for instance, if somebody have a meeting about the dangers of climate change, there must also be a meeting by those denying climate change, just to make a balance. It is not. Independence in this law confirms that there must be a distance between the authorities of the community and the editorial role of the library. The mayor or the culture director are not allowed to come to the library director and say, "You must not have this meeting about the election," or "You should remove all literature that promotes LGBT+. That's the role of the library director to decide as an independent unit. In Norway, there have been some cases where the independence of the library have been challenged. Especially anti-Islamic groups have tried to use the libraries to have their meetings, probably because of the good reputation of the libraries. So far, I've spoken most about the active role of the library as a democratic space, where the library and the librarians do the programming to ensure diversity, the pursuit of knowledge and culture. We also have a huge role as a place to be, where you just can show up and read the newspaper, browse the shelves, use the Wi-Fi, meet a neighbor, or even getting to know new people. That's also a democratic space, when people just can meet without obligations or without surveillance. A part of strengthening the role as a democratic space may be as simple as making it more comfortable to meet, to have a coffee machine or a burger joint, nice chairs, a nice view through the windows, great architecture. At the end, I would like to acknowledge that there is an ongoing war in Europe. That is a huge reminder of how bad it may go if the democracy isn't protected. I'm not naive and claiming that the libraries of Russia could have stopped the war, of course not. But I do believe that if we emphasize that libraries and librarians, first of all, are here to build and strengthen society and people through culture and literature, and not for the protection of text on paper, we can contribute to both democracy and peace. And I profoundly believe that the work of the Ukrainian Libraries and Library Association have contributed in for the last 30 years, have been making local communities stronger and more resistant against the aggressor. So people want to defend their democratic rights, the way of life, the language, the literature, the freedom, and the libraries. So, thank you. And now we'll see you, some of you, at the workshop tomorrow, I hope. Thank you very much.
We have few minutes for questions. Máme teď prostor pro 1-2 otázky, pokud nějaké padnou. Okay, there is a first question I will translate.
Thank you.
Who found city or town libraries in Norway? Is that the local authority, or they are established by national government, and how are they financed? So what percentage of budget is covered by the public resources?
Well, the public libraries, both the public libraries and the school libraries are 100% financed by the local authority, the municipality.
And who founds them, or who established them?
That's a combination of local tax and money from the government.
And I probably know that most local libraries are actually part of local administration, so they are part of the local government. That's true?
That's true.
Yeah, okay. So they are not independent organizations, they are just part of the city office, let's say.
Exactly. So that's why it was important to get the independence part in the law, so that the library director may have this. No, I'm deciding this. It says in the law. Yeah.
The second question is in English.
Yeah.
How do you analyze needs of your community? Which tools do you use? Thanks.
How do local readers interact with library directors to decide on things like book bans are available? Well, we don't. I still haven't experienced a book ban debate in Norway, really. Not like the American example where they will stop LGBT plus books and so on. It's not been experienced in Norway, but the library directors are, of course, they are local. So people may take contact, or just in the reception they want to suggest a book for buying. That library, the library should have this book, of course, but never, or almost never, that you should not have this book. That's very rare.
And the last question: how do you analyze needs of your community? Which tools do you use?
Well, that's a really good question because of the huge diversity between the municipalities. But of course, our library systems provide statistics. And of course, when you are part of the local community, of course, the local administration and politicians, they say that, okay, we see that people in our municipality, the kids are reading too little or they're reading poorly, so we need an extra effort on this subject. So it's a sort of combination between internal tools in the library and external demands and wishes from the community, both as persons and as authority. Mm.
Okay, thank you very much. That was the last questions because we are somehow short on time. Další otázky je možné Vidanovi klást zítra na workshopu, anebo konec konců there is a party tonight, so I think you could be approached by some other questions as well. A tím jsem si vytvořil, a ještě jednou, děkuji.